You know what?
What?
We got to do something special for the 420. Like show up with all sunglasses and just be like,
I'll just show up high.
this is, I would rather you not actually be high. It would be nice to have a conversation.
Because I also don't.
As you're paranoid, he's
high,
under his desk.
ever.
Exactly. You don't get high at all. Stop, everybody. Thank you very much for showing up. If you get a chance, tweet out that we're doing this. We're going to be covering some cool news this week, including Cyberpunk and how much it costs to roll out 2.0, which was more than I expected, but still not surprising. We're going to cover Mirage impressions. A bunch of people have been playing it, as well as the reviews that went out, and the awesome discussion that is always civil, always incredibly intelligent, always just subtle, nuanced discussion that occurs around video games. We're going to talk about that for Mirage. Super subtle. We're going to be talking about all different stuff, but the first thing I want to say is, as this podcast continues to move and grow, one thing that really never changes much is us. 4 best friends. That's our strength, sort of our weakness as well, possibly. Could possibly be a
4
weakness.
4
boyfriends.
What is that? Hatful Boyfriend?
Weird. Is that a game? Hatful Boyfriend? Isn't that the name of that one game?
Yes, that's the one where you're dating pigeons.
Where you're dating pigeons.
What the fuck?
Hatful Boyfriend with pigeons. But anyway, our superpower is you guys. It really is. It's everybody in the Patreon. It's having an awesome place. We just had a huge discussion, I think it was a week ago, where about 20 of us were in chat talking about games. We do awesome stuff there. And last night when I jumped into the Patreon, I rarely feel blessed in life unless it's like a dog licking my face, beautiful woman, great action movie, and our Discord. Those are the ones. That sounded a little bit like Conan saying, what are the best things in life? For me, it is definitely
and he would be like tasting the blood of my enemies.
Yeah, the lamentation of the women. Lamentations of the women, right? Is that right? Yeah. So I do want to say thanks to everybody, and that's it. We'll jump in. If you get a chance, tweet us out.
Amazing.
Yep, it's been an amazing week, actually. It was crazy. Two reviews went up live for a bunch of games on Forza and Mirage, and Abzy and I covered initial thoughts on that, and he hadn't got to play it, and he has now, so we'll cover the deep dive into that. But first, we're just going to do a generic, what have you been playing? Everybody in chat, what have you been playing? What have you been enjoying in chat? Remember, keep it civil. If somebody's playing a game you don't like, guess what? That's them playing a game you don't like. So their opinion matters just as much as yours, which all matter less than mine. Go ahead, Silver. What have you been playing?
Cyberpunk 2.0, trying to update a bit, and Assassin's Creed Mirage really are the 2 main ones.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you were doing Mirage. Yeah, because we were talking about the little kids, the awesomeness of having the little, what'd you call them? Scallywag?
Urchins.
No. Yeah. Urchins, yeah. Urchins, rough, scallywags. It's like, it's all the same thing to me. But you've been playing both of those.
Regulars and stuff,
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. What about you, Abzy? What have you been playing?
After our podcast, I told you I was going to wrap up Miles Morales, so I did that. And then, a fantastic game, by the way. Loved it. And then I started Mirage, right after. Played about, I think, like 7-8 hours of that,
And you can't skip that for a very short amount of time you were playing a game I couldn't remember the name of, which is quite normal, but it was Counter-Strike. I can't remember what I was calling it, like Defend Punch or something. But
yeah, because Counter-Strike 2 came out, and I played a game with my friend, and it's the game. It does feel better. I think the higher tick rate on matchmaking feels better.
It does feel better.
Yeah. It feels better. Everything else, thankfully, all my settings were the same. It was easy to like hop back in. I forgot all the callouts for everything, but it's kind of like riding a bike. Shooting in that game is kind of, it just comes back to me.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Johnny? What have you been playing?
So I played a little bit of a game called Beneath the Ore Sea, which is a card, like a deck building game.
Building game. I know that game.
And I remember I think you shouted it out in one of your top upcoming games. It's now fully released, and the devs gave me a code to check it out. I enjoyed it, so we can talk about it today. I'm making the big time
streamer, and Johnny Plays Live got a code,
and I completed Lies of P as well. So
damn,
been a good week.
Two games were completed in this group.
Just Lies of P.
No, I mean I'm saying Abzy beat Miles.
Oh, true.
So technically, we should just call ourselves the Platinums Podcast, right?
Completionist, basically. Like
yeah.
Dude, I definitely did not platinum that game. It was like, you know what I mean? You just play it, good. I'm not gonna go around and do stupid shit.
Life's too short.
It's a
Life's too
great
short.
game to jump into and do what you want and leave without any
Yeah, yeah.
remorse or guilt or nothing like that. Super chat, Chris. Again, thank you for the super chats. They help the channel. Chris McComb, $10 super chat. What item do you use on racing wheels to make it work on all platforms? And do you know if it works with Fantech DD1? Thanks for the great podcast and reviews. I use a thing called the Brooks adapter. You'll have to check on your steering wheel and make sure, of course, no patches have happened from the platform holders themselves to stop this. There's not just that. There's a couple, but what they do is they require a controller from the official system, and you plug it into this box, and then you plug in your steering wheel, and it uses the certification that comes through the gamepad to certify the steering wheel, which saves you $300, from buying 2 steering wheels, which is, so it's a $40-$50 item, and it saves you, $250 if you get. But you want to check on Fantech. That is something. But what I have noticed is that when it works, and it always does, so I shouldn't say it that way, but when it's all set up, I'm actually quite surprised that it doesn't feel different than native. Like, they are really just using the cert, and then everything else is directly through the steering wheel's hardware. So you get some great stuff.
So there's no like input lag or anything.
There's no input. There's no nothing. Yeah, it really is just using that boot up certification to say this is a legit controller or whatever. But it even shows the proper steering. Oh, it's pretty crazy. Like it shows up correctly. Other people are playing Cyberpunk, Mortal Kombat 1. Liza P. Connor says Starfield, 70 hours in now, almost done with the first playthrough. Surprise. Surprise. I get it. Sir_prize. Finished Starfield yesterday. Jonathan, I'm playing Starfield. Mr. Glass is playing Shadow Gambit. We talked about weird game names right before the podcast started, and that was mine. Shadow Gambit, Tale of the Cursed Crew, right? I think that's what it is.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Max Payne from Gaming DMX. Max Payne,
Damn.
interesting. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Are you going through all the Remedy catalog? Man, I love Remedy. Oh my god. I realized Remedy is one of those companies where I just dig what they do, like, every single time.
Did you do
Every
Quantum
game,
Break?
I love their direction. I have it. I haven't got into it.
It's well worth
Should-
doing.
Yeah. So do you think I should do it before Alan Wake 2? Or do
Yeah,
you think
because it's
there's no,
Control
there's no-
1.5 or 0.5. Sorry. It's
okay.
Control 0.5.
Yeah, yeah.
It deals with, it was back when maybe they were thinking it was all coming together, but it is well worth playing. I didn't
Also fairly short.
adore
What I
it
remember.
because of some tech issues, but many have been fixed. And
You know what's-
Silver's right. It's not a 40-hour, opus.
Yeah. What's crazy about their stories is, like, they're so unique to a point where usually I forget a lot of games that I play, but going back into Control, I instantly remembered everything, and then going into the Alan Wake DLC, I remembered all of Alan Wake's story. I thought I wouldn't, you know what I mean? When I found some notes talking about Bright Fall, what was it called?
Bright Falls.
See, I forgot. Bright Falls and stuff like that, and I was like, damn, everything was coming back to me, the dark and all that shit. So it's pretty cool that it just sticks in my brain,
Yeah, Remedy is up there for sure. Blind Mephisto recently got Blacktail. It's on sale for $15. Dude, Blacktail is so good. I reviewed that. That is one of those games where it doesn't matter if the game does 0 views. Like, it's a small game, and I get that. But when I covered that game, that was one of the titles that it gave me some feels. Like, Blacktail is really enjoyable. Prime is playing Days Gone. Johnny Returns. Johnny is the best name. I'm not biased. I think he's talking to you. Let's see.
No, because his name is Johnny too.
I know, but I think he's teasing. He's saying you guys have the best names. Ivan says, haven't finished a game in a long time. I usually just lose interest. Nothing wrong with that. Myth Force.
Yeah.
Jack, you're playing Myth Force. That game is my childhood.
That's the one you mentioned, right? About the graphics?
Yes. So good. Another super chat, $10. Playing Quantum Break on next-gen console for the first time, and I feel like the game is so underrated. Amazing podcast. There you go.
Okay,
So there's two people.
cool.
Somebody you can trust and a questionable person.
There you go.
I
Yes.
found out
Well,
yesterday
trust you,
I am
Mr.
now suspect because
I remember at the
I
time
like
it had
games.
technical issues that
did.
people were concerned about, but if now it runs pretty smoothly, that would be a good chance to jump in.
Absolutely. Guys, if you get a chance, tweet out that we're doing this. Ask people to join. SBZ, $5 super chat. I want to see a lot of people talking about the PlayStation data breach. Your quick thoughts about it, please. Stay safe and stay gang. Gang.
Gang. I didn't see anything about.
You didn't? 7,000.
No.
Sounds like 7,000 members of some group in Sony's got hacked. And I guess it's not big compared to what I'm always accustomed to. And these hacks come
Yeah.
up, they're like 500,000 people. So when I hear 7,000, I'm like, dude, that's lunchtime.
So was it passwords being leaked? That type of thing?
I don't know that much. I just know that there was credentials of some kind being leaked.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but guys, I don't know about you. It feels like it's a sign of the times. Like, China's going to get a quantum computer and your 87 character password will be cracked in a billisecond anyway.
There's always going to be hacks and always going to be new security protocols, and then the hacks are going to bypass the security protocols, and then they're going to adapt, and then they're going to bypass, and then they're going to adapt. Yeah, so on and so forth.
It's the never-ending story.
Dude, I'm already set up in a way where every password I have is like some blob generated from like password manager or whatever.
Yeah.
And whenever I see that email, I just go in there, I change the password, and I'm good. I gave up trying to track passwords.
Remember,
stuff.
Sony was also the ones that a couple of years ago had two-factor get hacked. So if you had two-factor, you would get hacked. If you didn't, they couldn't. And I was just like, wow, that's opposite what we're accustomed to. I got to admit, I don't know about you guys. Do you guys use two-factor? I do on a lot of my stuff.
Yeah,
I hate
a lot of my shit.
I hate it because I don't use my cell phone. Doesn't even have a
I
attached
absolutely
number.
hate it.
I hate it. So I have to like plug in a USB-C to charge up the cell phone.
I
to
almost
get to
have the
authenticator.
feeling of like, as I'm doing the 2FA, I'm like, dude, I don't care. Hack me. It's better than this.
Thank you.
Hack me. I'll change my password after.
I honestly have, like, stupidly, because it's stupid to think that. But
I have
agree.
Moments. Yeah.
I absolutely have a breakdown moment where I'm like, are you kidding me? And then now the new one, I don't know if you guys have seen, the chipmunk is facing this way. You need to alert the chipmunk so it faces this way. And you're like, all right, you do one or two puzzles, you hit enter, and you think you're done. It's like, now we're going to send you a code.
Because it started like, find the dog, like find the pictures with the dog. And now it's like, dude, now it's like the lock-picking minigame in Starfield. You're like, oh, shit.
Dude, that would be amazing. That get the Starfield, you have to like line up. What if
the
they sent
master
us
lock?
Like little, do you guys remember when you were younger, you'd get the red lens with the game manual and you'd have to look to figure out the code to start the game? That would be awesome if they send you a monocle that you put on to get through. You're like, okay. More super chats.
We're forced with dealing with two-factor authentication, actually, because we have, I think I said this before, but we have digital IDs here for dealing with the government.
Yeah.
So like anytime you need to like log into your like digital ID to like accept like government mail or whatever interaction with the government, you have to log into that, or it's also tied to like your banking and your bank account. So you have to use your like digital ID from your smartphone through an app there that then uses the secondary authentication, where you frequently would like you have to scan a QR code on the screen or whatever it is.
Those are some wicked headphones. What are you wearing, Silver? Are those Sony's?
No, they're Steel
Series, yeah.
Arctic.
I just saw that you have the spinners, the wrapper spinner, like you got the little lights on the sides and stuff.
Yeah.
$5 super chat. Hush Al Ghul, what's up, buddy? Thank you always for supporting the channel too, Hush. Every single podcast. It doesn't matter when we do it. Every event, you're there. Like, you're basically the fifth member of the podcast. Karak, add this to your Uncrustables account. Rest of the crew, thanks for a great podcast. I'm skipping the Uncrustables.
Sounds real wrong.
Oh yeah, but they're so. See, I don't even want to talk about it too much because I'm already getting saliva mouth. Those things are good.
Oh, it's a food?
Yeah, dude, come on. Not good.
Dude, I don't know. It just sounded wrong.
We talk about this all the time. Don't do this to me. Yes, you're pretending that you don't listen to anything I say. It's okay.
Dude, I don't.
It's a pastry, right? And it's like a sandwich without the crust, basically, in a circle. And then it's injected with delicious fake innards of any kind, like jelly. You can do eggs and bacon in them because they can be heated. They can be grilled. So all they are is basically a pre-made sandwich. But if you get like jelly and peanut butter, you can get them frozen and gnaw on them like a dog with a bone. So like I'll get like 6 bags of them and just be they're so good. Dude, they're phenomenal and they're terrible for you. That's probably why they're only in like some states in America, the ones that have like the California cancer code, where they're like, you can use it, but
it's like certain types of medicine where you can only buy 1 box per person because it's
And the
Like,
box has a warning of side effects that like may
you buy
cause
it,
tax
you
loss.
buy it at your
And you're
peril.
like, how?
Like,
Yeah, buy it at your peril. That'd be amazing if it just said
yeah,
works on the one thing, buy at your peril for everything else.
yeah.
Josh, $10 super chat. Hey, dudes, loving the 2 podcasts a week. Yeah, I have to say, your guys'
Nice.
positivity. I talked about this on the thread on the comments on the Wednesday podcast. Were insane. Like it's just all positivity for the 2 podcasts, and people like the Wednesday because they can jump into both, and it's just
Midweek.
it's just really nice. And we'll occasionally get these guys on if they can ever come, but it is awesome to do. It lifts up my Wednesday, and no, it won't affect reviews. In fact, I found myself getting out going like I'm more energized. So
Nice.
Let's see. Any game lore that you guys are... He's asking, any game lore you guys are super into. I love Vita Vidya's videos on FromSoft. I'm sure I'm pronouncing his name wrong. But he's the YouTuber.
Yeah.
It's also a conspiracy, not a conspiracy. What'd you say? Like a theory. You know how he theorizes about things in the game?
Oh, they're theory videos. Yeah. Theory videos. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also theory crafting, like how you pronounce his name, because everybody does it in a different
Wait, he says it though. He says Vatya.
Does he?
Yeah.
So he's Vatya Vidyas is what he is, that username?
Vatya Vidya. Wait, am I?
Oh, and by the way, while you guys are figuring that out,
I've said Vati Vidya as well.
Vatya,
okay.
Right? Yeah.
Omega Sins was the streamer I was talking about last Wednesday when I couldn't remember the name of somebody that because I had a beard and they had a beard, they just assumed we all knew each other. The
You're
beard
same
cabal, the underground conspiracy
Dude, you're
of beards.
in so many games. You are.
Yeah,
in so
everybody
many
posts a
games. I don't know
picture.
how
They'll
you
be
got
like,
that many jobs.
Karak's in a game. It's like,
you need
nah,
to get royalties, dude.
yeah, right. Game On says you need to wear a lighter top so the viewers can recognize where the beard ends and the clothes begin. They don't. I'm wearing a beard. That's it. The beard is the shirt. It's grown in.
Yeah.
It's just all one big part of me. By the way, I do see Game On rocking the ACG yellow, like super yellow shirt. And it was so funny when he was like, dude, you got the brightest colors ever. So I went into one of his streams. He does a stream. I think it might be daily because I'm seeing it more often than I used to, or my alerts are finally working. But I jump in and it's his head and then he moves back and it's like the shirt is just like
like the sun.
Right.
Yeah. Dude, Johnny's got it too, I think.
Yeah,
You
I got one of the
super bright
yellow
one.
ones.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
Those things are they're definitely bright. Let's see. Can we have a dedicated podcast of Karak just talking Uncrustables for 3 hours? No, but it would probably do well now that I think about it. And I do want to say, I mean, like that's the thing is you guys are going to hear us talk about non-game stuff. That's why I enjoy doing the podcast. We're not a bunch of influencers. We're going to talk about some random shit. So be prepared for Bigfoot stories. Let's move on to the first game bit though. Let's cover games. So I want to talk about the Cyberpunk thing. We'll just start off with this. So listen to this. To dev the new DLC was $62.7 million. That was to dev it. It was $21 million to market it, almost $22 million. The 2.0 update was $40 million. So the update was almost as expensive as the entire DLC with, Alba running around or Elba or whatever. Like, that shows how much it costs to change the innards of your own game. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like
right.
Ray built everything, though sometimes I think we feel that they did. But do any of those prices surprise you? Are you guys like,
for 2.0 alone? Yeah, dude. That's crazy. I mean, what are they factoring in? Are they factoring in like how much they pay their employees, overhead?
They factor in everything. It was a financial discussion, actually. It wasn't like somebody just saying this is what it cost. It was during their financial discussion.
Yeah, like 3 years, 40 million in 3 years for that company. How many employees do they have, right?
400, right? Well, aren't they in the 300-400 range?
Yeah, and they hired a new one, and they hired a new director. Like, it's not like they paid for, like, they paid 40 million for stuff to be put into 2.0 because there's not like, you know what I mean? It's just reworking things and making things work. We don't know how much. I'm guessing a lot of engine fixes took a long time. And you said like the cop thing was like a huge deal because they just couldn't get it going with the engine, right?
Yeah.
So breaking down a lot of those fundamental engine stuff and then rebuilding them and shit must have taken a while. Yeah. But it is surprising, like, to hear just like, oh, an update is $40 million. You know what I mean? It's just like that sentence. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's especially when you break it down that it was only 20 million to add Idris and do a full voice.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like full mocap, right?
Yeah, full mocap session. Which goes to show, I don't know about you guys, I've consistently believed a lot of these actors aren't being charged a ton. We've talked about this before. I've heard people say Keanu was 50 million. And it's like, well, if you look at the game.
Yeah, I know. I really don't.
50 million is way too much.
50 million. Yeah. It's like, I don't think, I think we're overdoing the cost.
Oh, like the celebrity?
Yeah. I'm not saying I want them. In fact, like I said, if it's $1, I still would have had the dollar gone into the, I like Keanu, but come on.
That's like what an
Go for it.
A-list Hollywood star will get for like a super blockbuster.
Exactly. No, dude, that's exactly it. I was like, I don't know if you guys are keeping up on
it's
what
like
they actually
Tom Cruise
cost.
will get for Mission Impossible or something. Although no, he'll probably get more since he's like a producer or whatever.
Too.
Yeah.
So here's some other games. Last of Us 2, 220 million. Halo 2, 120 million. So not a small amount. And then we look at games like Horizon, which I thought was an interesting one to look up. And you're looking at around 212 plus probably 8 for inflation.
Oof.
So that was more than I thought. But here's crazy. Gears of War. Gears of War is, listen to this, Gears of War 3, by the way, around 50 million. Now, I got to tell you guys, I feel the Gears games must have a good return on investment then. Because they were the premier after Halo titles for all of Xbox.
Plus, they didn't change like that much between Gears of War, right? So they had like a good skeleton and just
yeah. So, and again, this was Gears of War 3. We're at what was the last one? 5, 6,
5. Yeah.
And then Destiny. I got the numbers for Destiny with inflation 173 for Destiny 1. So not a cheap game. That game was,
they made that times like 1,000 probably.
And they also made it on the 360. You guys do remember that was out on it came out on the old platform. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was it 170 million?
That was the cost for Destiny at release. Yeah.
That was cost of Destiny 1 at release. Yeah.
At release. Okay.
Inflation
and then they poured money into it after.
Is 33 million. It was 140 reported then. So 140 reported then, 173 for today's numbers. So 140 we can go with. And they had multiple consoles, right? They released it on they canceled the support on the old gen fast though. Like I know a lot of my friends had the 360 version and that shit was come and gone like super quick. But
you know what I was thinking about the Cyberpunk thing? So for the update, one thing that a lot of people say that kind of triggers me is they think they could easily overhaul the perk system or like the skill trees in a way that would be better than what's there in the game. So like the average Joe might comment like, dude, I can, in a weekend, I could come up with a better skill system. And I think just the audacity of that is unimaginable because it takes, a full team of people working,
balancing it.
Yeah, like, certainly a good part of the work was around recreating that and coming up with an interesting, more compelling system. So I just think like people go so quickly to, dude, I can imagine a better system tomorrow, if you give me the job.
Hey man, shout out to the modder who remade all of Fallout's skills and shit. Made them awesome. Shout out to that guy.
Which Fallout?
He did it for Fallout 4. I think he did it for like the other Fallouts as well. There's a lot for Skyrim.
Interesting. I already really liked the skill systems in like Fallout 4 and other games.
Yeah, what did he do? Make them more tangible?
There's a bunch. There's the one guy that said he wanted to do it for Starfield as well, and it's an overhaul that makes it more less about the numbers and more about like new skills and stuff like that. Yeah, he wants to redo the whole combat section of the Starfield one.
I love that they do, but again, they don't care if the game breaks 6 months later.
Nope, they don't.
It's just like there's a huge difference. Yeah. But I thought those prices were interesting. I think we track some of this just because of our constant conversation, so maybe it doesn't surprise us as much. But I was a little surprised by 40 million just for the update. I mean, I just mean the amount, not necessarily that it took a ton because they got it balanced and all that. It's just when I saw the cost of the game actual expansion being 60, and then I saw 2.0. But let's talk about something else. The PR was 20 million alone. I think that's a little lower than I expected because it used to be 50%, right? You would hear that bandied around all the time. Yeah, it would be
30.
Yeah, it would be 60, and now, it's dropped. I don't know. Maybe that's because they had influencers and stuff doing a lot of the adding.
Did influencers, instead of ads and crazy stuff. They did it for the release of the game, though. They put them in like New York Times Square and shit, right?
I think it was a mix of there being influencers, but also they already have brand recognition for Cyberpunk. That goes a really long way.
They already have a player base,
and with Witcher. And the honest truth is that a lot of people, they just have, they're a different style of company. They have a lot of, it's like BioWare.
I mean, undoubtedly, I think that I don't think there's any question that the marketing budget was bigger for the launch itself of Cyberpunk 2020.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
And so they're still sort of reaping the benefits of that sort of and the downsides of that sort of marketing. Initial marketing campaign.
Yeah, it's good and bad, right? Like you have to market it, and you have to market the changes so people buy into it. We're going to talk about something in particular around building on a current platform versus different when we talk about Mirage, because I have some thoughts on Mirage that I think might be timely. We'll see. Maybe people just don't agree. But moving on from prices, I do want to ask you guys a question. So whenever we hear remaster, remake, one of the first posts will be like, this is lazy. This cost you 12 cents to make this.
It's a cash grab.
It's a cash grab. How do you guys think that Lords of the Fallen has navigated this so well? Because Lords of the Fallen was going to be Lords of the Fallen 2, and then it changed developer hands, and then turned into, is it a remake? Because we see places we've seen before. And then is it a remaster? And now it's a reimagining. It really
reboot?
is.
Like
or a reboot. Yeah.
You could call it like a sequel as well, because it's set like 1,000 years after the original.
The original.
I think what it is to a large extent is the indie vibe. The fact that it's like a scrappy underdog.
Oh right. Okay, I got you.
It's like the perception that people have. So there's sort of an automatic inclination to sort of side with them, as opposed to like a huge production like the Last of Us remake.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Comparison there, right? Yeah, I think that's where a lot of it comes from, is this idea of like the scrappy underdog versus like the huge subsidized studio or whatever.
I also think like the original game also didn't sell that much, and people kind of overlooked it a lot, and it got negative press and bad reviews and stuff. So I feel like it's just like a retry. You know what I mean? Like, here's our next shot at it. Here's our other shot. This is what we're doing. And there's like a lot of neat new ideas, and it's like people see that it's a completely different game, so they're like more on board. Maybe they're like, oh yeah, I remember that game, Lords of the Fallen. It was like the first Souls, like whatever, and now it's on its own 2 feet.
Yeah, and to build on that, the original game had so many glaring problems that even the people who liked it observed that a remake seems warranted, or a retry seems warranted in a way. But a game like Last of Us 1 was already, an excellent game. So I think a lot of people had the argument of, you know what, that's not needed, right? Like, it's already a fantastic game as it is.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's all fair. I just am always interested also, is it because it's not platform exclusive, and that if it had been, let's say Sony bought it for platform exclusivity, you have that ability to now be like, it's shit, because it's on this other platform. And when you're on every platform, it is easy to sort of just, you get by on that one huge check mark. Regardless of the money that you may get, it makes sense. And we still see it with Epic exclusives, right? We see that with Epic people, once it's exclusive on anything, like if you can't get it in a local bazaar at 3 a.m. in a tent, people start getting mad.
Yeah.
and you work up from there. And they've, you know, because I don't, but is this one Epic exclusive? That was one of the things I was going to ask. I don't think it is. It's on Steam, right? Yeah, it's on Steam.
I believe
The remake.
so.
Yeah, it is.
Does Karak actually type in chat? Yeah, that's me typing. That's why there's a misspelling in the very first thing I typed, man. I just don't give a shit. A moderator would type better. Yeah, what did I say? What do you think, ghosts? I don't know, man. I'm excited for it. Did you guys see the previews popping today? Popping and stopping for that? Yeah. I talked to Fextra. They did a preview, and I watched all of that, and I was like, game's looking good, man.
Damn. Yeah, very promising. And you know what's funny? Because I just mentioned I finished Liza P this week, and coming off that game and looking at Lords of the Fallen, it's like kind of a humbling experience. Well, not to me, because I didn't create the game, right? So what the fuck does it matter to me? But when you compare the locales, like the level of detail, I mean, Liza P really seems like a
I know what you're
tech
saying.
demo compared to. I mean, I love the game. Don't get me wrong. You know, I had a lot of fun with the game, but the level design, it's almost cute. You know how like straightforward it is compared
I
to.
wish I had reviewed it. I would have been
Lords
like, it's
of
cute.
the Fallen. It's cute, you know, because it's a straight line, right? You get a ladder back to the main path, and then it all makes perfect sense, and honestly works great for the game. But you look at Lords of the Fallen, and there's this whole other layer of, dude, I'm just gonna get lost in this world, and you know, figure out how to navigate. And there's the two layers of the worlds. There's a lot more depth, both graphically, like the textures and everything, how everything is populated, but also just the gameplay itself.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. And also, the debris system in that game looks spot on. So a lot of places you'll be like, this doesn't appear lived in. Like, it just doesn't, there's not stuff. You know, we all have stuff. Stuff accumulates in alleyways if it's not cleaned. There's all this kind of debris systems that a lot of games are very clean. And it's like, here's a hallway. Strangers of Paradise was one of those. Where Strangers of Paradise was like an old Sega Genesis game most of the time. There'd be like a box.
The opposite.
And Division's the opposite. Division's like, what am I supposed to pay
Here's
attention
all the
to?
trash.
Yeah, we hear you like trash, yo, so we put trash in your trash. They did put trash in the trash, actually. But yeah, that is true. Division goes nuts with their debris, which works, man. It pays pays dividends. Yeah, and
it's
it causes
like the consumerism post-apocalypse, right? It's like that,
right, but it also makes level design harder to see. And I was talking about this in one of the Walking the Walks, where if you get a cave, not a cave, if you get a tunnel, and the tunnel's just a square, no matter how much you gussy that up with ray tracing, you're just seeing a square of darkness that you're going into. But the games that put a little bit in the corner to break the line, the 90-degree mortar line, that's when things start to work, or pipes or vines, where things start to feel like it's not just this box that you're traveling through. And I think Liza Pi was a lot of boxes. Regardless if people like Liza Pi, there were a lot of places where you're like, feels like somebody just went in and sort of threw some stuff down.
A game like SWAT 4 got a lot of recognition for back in the day.
Oh, did it?
Making its environments or its levels feel
lived in
and believable and lived in.
SWAT 4 was awesome.
SWAT 4 was. Have they made a 5? The one company made like a spiritual.
The closest we've got is Ready or Not. Yeah.
Not
Ready. Still not like apparently. A feature complete, I think. Yeah, because I played a bunch of it, but there's no progression system at all. There's no kind of conducive
in Ready or Not.
Yeah, there's no like good reward system where it's like you just do missions. Doesn't matter if you really fail or not. It's just that maybe there's leaderboards or something, but there's nothing that like upgrades your character or gives you anything yet. But they are gonna do that for full release. But it's a fun game. Great mechanics.
Yeah, a lot of these games are coming in with the fun game and then adding the other stuff later, which, I just don't want it for every game, because then I feel like I'm waiting on every single title. But yeah, Lords of the Fallen's
just don't buy early access anymore.
Right. Lords of the Fallen's looking sweet, man. I can't say, everything I've seen of it, nothing looks negative. I don't think I'll review it because the code timing is weird, or at least for me. I think they said something like Monday, and I can't sit on this weekend I have to work, so it's like so I have other games I'll probably cover, but we'll talk about it in the podcast for sure. So once again, another reason to subscribe to the podcast.
Like still go in and play it even if you're not reviewing it? Does it interest you enough?
I bought it anyway pre them, like I already ordered it pre them talking to them about the code. I most of the time will do that with a game that interests me, but here it just it's been quite difficult getting any PR contact, and whenever that happens I usually start to hedge my bets and schedule around it. I'm usually
you
like,
almost
all
assume
right,
like it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, or they're having trouble getting to everybody, and I'm just not a believer I should get a code. I mean, it's great to get a code, but no one's owed one. So it's just like, that's why I didn't even say, I didn't announce it on Twitter. I've answered people who've asked me.
I wasn't given the code.
Yeah. And it's just virtue signaling. Like, I didn't get a code, but that's okay. Even I stopped doing that. I used to do it years ago. And then I was like, I'm just not even going to do that anymore. Because it's just, if somebody asks, it's one thing. But otherwise, there's so many games to cover right now that it doesn't matter if you got a code or not. You probably couldn't cover them. There's just that many. But I think it looks good, man. It looks exciting. That company deserves a shot. And I think Silver was right when or Johnny, whoever said this, but it is a slightly lower, not AAA company. So I think there's a little bit of, push to see if they can succeed, maybe give them a little bit more of a chance. Fine. Speaking of companies that deserve our support because they're so small, let's talk about Ubisoft.
So, very, very relatable. Bunch.
Very relatable, super small company, scrappy do of companies. Multiple of us have played Mirage. Let's get Abzy, and then we'll go to Silver's responses for what you've played, what you've liked or disliked.
Okay. I'm enjoying my time, man. I really like the direction it's going with this one. There are some issues with it. Obviously, I have some issues. I don't like the writing and dialogue that much. I don't care for the story as much. Right now, I don't care for the story. I'm just playing it for the gameplay mostly, for the assassin simulator gameplay kind of stuff. And they did something really cool. I don't know. I'm sure they've done this with a lot of Assassin's Creed, but in this one, I noticed it the most is where they give you a set of tools, a set of game rules, let's say, and then they let you just go nuts with it. I feel like you can do a lot of cool stuff. Like, for example, there's an upgrade for a smoke bomb, and that ignites fire. And and if there's like no fire in front of you, you can just throw a torch and then ignite it with your smoke bomb, for example. Or you can there's a lot of like animation canceling and stuff like they didn't care to not fix, but didn't care to like set rules in. So like you can jump from a very, very high area, and while you're falling down, just activate that assassin focus mode and teleport and kill 3 people. They do like goofy stuff like that. I like how there's a lot of stuff that interacts with each other. Like when I pickpocket someone, and then shortly after they notice that something's stolen, and they start yelling, and that causes a guard to get distracted and go to them. There's a lot of like neat little things that is making my time more enjoyable. I don't know about you guys, but I have it set on hard, and the exploration's all turned up and stuff. I have a lot of UI elements turned off, and it's making exploration a little bit more enjoyable. Stuff doesn't show up until I'm like kind of close to it, and it's pretty fun, especially if you don't use those like seeing through walls, or there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't like marking enemies and stuff, and I like
the X-ray vision
organic. So I'm playing this AC more organically and not like kind of checklisty, and just kind of running around and doing shit and parkouring and finding stuff, and I'm enjoying my time. As for the story
game
and stuff,
show you? Sorry, I'm just curious about what you said. Does the game show you where to go well enough without elements of the HUD?
Yeah. It's an option. Oh, without elements of the HUD. So like, and you got like this whole interface for your missions, which is basically like a clues panel. Like if there's like a detective show and they have like this whole thing with the clues leading to another
crime board kind of stuff.
A little, something like that.
It's basically like the old the cultist board in the previous.
And it has some like information, like it'll be like, she was last seen in the south of the gate of Baghdad or whatever, yeah. It's kind of weird though with the voice thing, because like it's weird to hear people talk like that. It feels like, as an Arab, like I'm hearing like everyone trying to deliver the news, because they speak in an Arabic language that is the written language that all of the Arabic countries understand, or like it's like the
But it's not the
unifying
spoken
one.
language.
High
right, it's not
Arabic.
the spoken. Yeah. High Arabic. So when anyone's talking, I don't know if it's just like terrible voice acting or if it's that I'm just hearing like everyone's just delivering the news constantly around me in the
Dude, it's so funny you mentioned
so
that because shout out to my friend Silla. She's also Arabic and of origin, and so she's listening to that and she's telling me, dude, it sounds completely artificial because nobody actually speaks like this, or few people do. It's just so formal. So, and when you look at those people, they're kind of disheveled peasants, like a lot of them, and they're speaking like they're like the newscaster.
Like newscasters. It's kind of odd. And sometimes like you can tell, or I can tell if they hired an Arabic voice actor or if they didn't, when they're like because sometimes they put in like sadiqi and stuff like little Arabic words within the English.
Friend,
and
right? Best friend.
Yeah. And some people pronounce it correctly. They say sadiqi, and then you'll hear someone going like sadiqi.
Sadiqi.
Oh shit, okay, that guy's not Arab.
And you're all, dude, that's not a game.
Yeah. Or like Khalifa, and then the other guy's like Khalafa. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Yeah. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying my time.
What about you, Silver?
A little mixed, mostly towards the positive side for now. I'm really, really enjoying the setting. I'm really enjoying sort of the evocation of Arabian Nights, 1001 Nights.
Very
like
much so.
The Thieves of Baghdad, right?
Yeah.
Sinbad and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like that part I think is very, very, very fun, just running through the streets of Baghdad. I think if I had to like sum up what really sets this game apart from the other Assassin's Creed titles, it's the chase. This game really, I think, fundamentally is about the chase, with Basim more running away than it is like taking on like 36 soldiers the way Alexios or even like Bayek would sometimes do. Or Ivor, yeah.
Ivor.
Like it's like that stealth aspect is really sort of reinforced, especially if you play on hard, where Basim can kind of hold his own, but it's significantly harder than it is in the previous titles. I also really like that difficulty because honestly the enemies aren't that spongy, I don't think. They
Especially
feel kind of appropriate. Yeah, they kind of feel appropriate. Parrying is also sort of your main way of reconstituting stamina in this game during combat, which is a fun mechanic. But really, sort of the emphasis on stealth is something that's very, very welcome to me. I did a couple of missions where I actually managed to ghost, so I managed to like infiltrate and get to the objective without taking out any guards or anything, just stealthing the entire thing. That felt really nice. Though there are parts where that feels really impossible, where you have to sort of game the system to do it, because of how they've like navigated guard routes and stuff. But that part is really satisfying. Also, like we talked about, like the street urchins in the the street. There are a lot of kids in the streets, and like the streets are just sort of brimming with life in a way that really helps infuse the setting with believability, and just fun. And I really absolutely kind of touched on the reactivity feels really solid as well, where you pickpocket, you get caught, you run away, and then you come back and you like the guard who like ran out after you and couldn't find you gets chewed out. And it gets chewed out by like the person you pickpocketed for losing you. Yeah. Like what the fuck are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Like for me, it was like a huge lumbering guard captain who got like chewed out by this little petite woman, which was really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of reactivity built into the game is really fun. I find sort of the faction system feels awkward. A little bit like the token system. I think you touched on that. Yeah.
Oh, the token stuff.
I don't think it feels great. The movement is basically carried over from Valhalla.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
unfortunately.
Yeah, it feels really clumsy. Like precise controls are really difficult. That has sometimes been an issue in Assassin's Creed, but it's particularly an issue here, particularly when like you're hiding in bushes, and because you get a little too close to like a tiny small edge, Basim will like jump out of the grass or the bush or whatever, and basically position himself on top of the ledge and get spotted by everyone.
Dude, did you
Even
ever
though
get a
haven't, like,
thing?
put in a button input.
Did you ever get a thing where it says assassinate with RB and then you press it and the motherfucker just like hits the dude with his sword and aggroes everybody? And
That I
tried that.
haven't. No, that I haven't. I have
That's a
always
full-on
had.
bug right there.
Yeah, it sounds like it, like a synchronization issue or something. I have always had Basim assassinate when I press the assassinate button, thankfully. So yeah, that's fun. The voice acting, as you also touched on in your review, Karak, I think feels really solid. I would actually really, it does mystify me that they sort of chose this half and half approach of having some of it, the dialogue in Arabic, and some of it in English, particularly given like previous Assassin's Creed titles, and how they've incorporated there being like an auto translator in like the animes or whatever. I kind of would have liked them to do an approach like in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, where they actually included full Mayan dialogue that you could like turn on in the options, and then have like the natives and stuff talk in that dialect. Or you could just switch it to English if that was what you wanted. I would have really liked that option, but I appreciate that would have taken a significant investment. But I think that would have suited the game more. It does feel a little odd to have this sort of half and half where sometimes there's Arabic going on and sometimes it's English.
What do you think about the graphics? Did it run well?
I'm playing on the Series X. Performance has been great. I think it looks beautiful. I mean, it evokes Origins to a significant degree in terms of like, at least in terms of outside of Baghdad. Like the Oasis type desert and stuff.
Yeah, the outskirts, as I called them, I really liked.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Also, Alamut feels also really evocative and like a beautiful setting and location. So yeah, graphically, I mean, art design has always been one of Assassin's Creed's great triumphs, I think, or great assets, and that's a continuing trend for Mirage, and a huge part of sort of breathing life into its setting.
I hit on three things that it sounds like you hit on the same, all you guys. So the first thing I had was, I was assuming there would be a possibility it would feel more like chess than checkers with the assassinations and the guard patrols and their routes, and it definitely goes much more towards checkers. It's much more, I feel like I'm hopping bad guys versus really like having to strategize discreetly and really dive into it. However, this is the bones of Valhalla. And the moment you go into a crowd and I mean, god damn, he is clumsy. I mean, he's just like, I'm sneaking, don't look at me. And he's push, and you're like, oh, it's Valhalla. It's Eivor, which didn't have great stealth. I love that you press a B to go, because I believe, if I remember right, Valhalla is active stealth. You choose. You like
yes. You don't just put it on the hood.
Right. And here, like, you know, going into stealth, sneaking around, I loved all of that. But the moment, you get into those group of people, you dive in with a group of people, a bunch of merchants, you get the white outline, which is fine if you want to have that on or not. But it's like, no wonder they can see him a mile away. And then that's the other thing. The AI is both amazing and terrible at the same time. So I will walk towards a guard post, and 500 yards before I get there, they're like, just move on. And I'm like, what the am I wearing a neon band? And then yet at the same time, sometimes you'll kill a friend and they're just like
right next to them or whatever.
But no,
or almost be right in front of them and they won't see you.
Right. When it comes to the voice acting, I liked it. I thought some was great, some wasn't. I definitely noticed different pronunciations of different things. However, I'm going to give them not a bone. I'm going to explain something. And I'm not saying this is real. I'm saying the reason why it didn't bother me so much. In my group of 5 friends, we all pronounce multiple words that are English completely different. And so when I do hear Baghdad and Baghdad or whatever, you know, where they get the real good inflection.
Good job. You did it well, man.
That's okay to me. And I get why you guys might pick up on that, especially Absy, who's from there. What I didn't notice, because I don't speak it at all, is that it's a informal versus formal.
Yes.
You know, so
Right.
that makes sense that somebody who's from there is like, this is not how a person at all would talk. Like it's not, it would be written that way, but it wouldn't be spoken that way. I get that. I think for English, you have to make it make sense to us. Otherwise, we ding it, and we're the major audience, regardless of what we all want. I mean, I would assume English speaking is your major audience. So I get your guys' complaint. Poor Whiskey Lady, though, it's my favorite lady, and hats off to her. Every time she shows up in a game,
Pickles it.
she rocks it, man. And she shows up as the older statesman, you know, or stateswoman assassin, and she's like, and I'm like,
what a perfect role for her, right? Like what a
dude, it's awesome. It's she's awesome in every video game she's ever in.
I
Like,
was gonna say she does research, man. Like
she has to.
roles.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is it's not just
it's preparation.
It's
man.
preparation.
It's very
right. Right, because you can get movie stars we've seen in games where you're like, oh, this guy, you know, read this or doesn't understand the word he's saying. So when he says it, there's no inflection or there's no, they don't rub a little dirt on it. She just, when she taught, like, there's this one scene right at the start, and you're riding camels with them going somewhere, and there's this amazing, what I consider to be a really amazing scene, and like dinner time, and you get to the city and
underneath the star sky.
Dude, and
when they're camping
she's like the Navy SEAL who shows up at an airsoft game, and everybody knows that person knows their shit. And you're like, you know, because I have a lot of Milsim friends who are like, dude, I'm Milsim at airsoft, and you're like, no, you're not. I mean, you're Sim Light. You're the Forza of Sims. You're certainly not real. And then the guy who knows what he's doing shows up, and you look at him, and you're like, you don't even look like what we expect. He's like, because all that shit you're wearing isn't going to work. And you're like, oh, okay. So someone knows what they're doing. She shows up, man. She puts the work in. She's phenomenal. And she single-handedly elevated it more than like Keanu Reeves did Cyberpunk or even Idris did. Like, she nails it. I want her in every game. And by the way, it's not just like accent stuff. She puts the work in.
Yeah. There's a certain quality of like when she speaks, you listen type, you know, and of course it's because her voice is deep and powerful and all that, but it's also like a certain panache.
We've all seen
like
Expanse, right?
Yeah.
We've all seen The Expanse. She also has a punch. So she cusses a lot in The Expanse. And her way of cussing is this awesome mix of the word with a to it. Like, she has some grunt to what she says, and she does the same thing in this. And even when she's talking lightly, there's a push to some of the words that feels like emotion, and you can buy into it. I do get why people have an issue with Basim. It's pronounced like 15 different ways in the game.
The guy from, I really like Basim in Valhalla, and I don't know if we grow up more in the game or later on or whatever, but I just wish that he would be the same voice, you know?
You mean you don't like...
I thought that guy was great.
Is it a different voice actor than the game?
Yeah.
Valhalla?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. That's fair.
It's him as an older. It's him older and wiser and stuff. He actually, he had that raspiness. Like, his voice reminded me of that, of her voice.
Carrie Baldino says, we're talking about, I can't pronounce her name, but...
I forget what the character's name is. I think the character's name is
in the game,
Roshan is his
Roshan.
Yeah, there's and I will say this, I personally, one of the reasons why when I reviewed this game, I said, if you have Uplay, it's the best way to get it. Uplay would be the best way. Yeah. If you want to buy it, and this is why I was really clear. I was like, I'm going to say fans who know what they're getting into now that you've listened to the review, it's okay to jump in. It is, as long as you're prepared for all these things. If you're not, you should hold off, you know, or again, Uplay. I think it's really nice that it's on Uplay, because people who are like, well, I just want to jump in at first, they can buy it later too. They could, you can buy it from Uplay too. But it is one of those games that is middle. And we see that with Forza. Right. Forza scored higher, but we're getting these discussions that's just lost. We talked about this on Wednesday. The discussion about games now has to be amazing or terrible. And I saw somebody in the comments going like, I can't believe you didn't rate this and never touch, blah, blah, blah. I'm never trusting you again. I'm like, good, because you've lost the path.
It's been that way for a long time, hasn't it?
It has, but what's happening is I think everybody with a voice is starting to trigger instantly. There at times I remember seeing people who would see something and go, now I get what you're talking about. And I still see it occasionally. But you also get the instant people where they're like, this is trash. And you look at it and I'm like, but you haven't played it. It's impossible for you to have played it because it's not out yet. So what are you talking about? Or regurgitating other things. And I hate it even when they regurgitate mine because I'm like, that's not, their experience might be different than mine. And bugs, we talk about it with bugs. But with Assassin's Creed, it is a middling title. It is 78, which actually, I can't believe I'm saying middling because technically that's still on the high end. It's almost in the 80s.
Yeah,
but
that's a good score.
Yeah. But it is built on the bones of Valhalla. It dug them up, resurrected them, changed some shirts around, and was like, let's do a game.
I will say, I mean, I mentioned the chase aspect as being the big thing, and the chases are fun. Like running away from the guards in this game across the rooftops is fun. Yeah. Like that's really where the game most strongly evokes the original Assassin's Creed for me.
Right.
Is in those rooftop chases where you're running around, and they've really built the environment. They've really built the city that well to sort of navigate organically in the parkour in your getaways, where it feels really, really fun to sort of look ahead and see, oh, I can go this way. I can try and make my way over here and plan my route.
Is it because you can kind of see paths and you can visually see, oh, I can go there and do that?
Yeah. You can recognize, oh, I have a pulley there that I can use to get up on the roof and then run on from there. Or, oh, I can use the ladder
you can parse it all.
Down there. Yeah.
The only thing I would...
I mean, that's a skill that you learn very quickly in Assassin's Creed, I think.
And in this one, you have to use more, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you are made of graham crackers and hope in this game. Like, if you get in there and you start parrying, that's great, but you may not see a guy on the screen, and that dude will... I mean, 1 hit, 2 hits, suddenly you're like, okay.
Or the heavy will catch you.
Or the heavy will catch you.
Parry.
Yeah.
Also, I like how some of the marks or targets that you have to assassinate are kind of like it's more about the assassin vibe. It's kind of more of like mini Hitman levels, you know what I mean? Like there's like multiple ways to do something, and you can do like these mini quests to get someone distracted so you can like go in for the kill. So I really appreciate that as well.
Do you know what else? I had an issue with the no HUD gameplay for 2 reasons. One, I check the map a lot of times because Baghdad is just complex in some of the lower areas,
and it can look very samey.
It can look very samey, and that was the one thing I wish they'd figure some way around that. And then also, this has the same Ubisoft jank at times, where if you turn all the options off, it can actually be difficult to get a door to open. It's almost like they're using the HUD to trigger an activity. Now, this was even worse in Valhalla, where in Valhalla, there were a lot of things you could not do. Like, you'd be like, why can't I get to this spot? And then
the button
prompt almost was needed by the system. And if you couldn't see it, and it happens in Far Cry. Far Cry is another big offender of this, where you'll find some things. They need to flesh that out. They need to decide, if you can turn everything off, then why are you requiring me to... There's just some things, not requiring, but there's some things that are really cumbersome, and I think the HUD turned off is pretty fantastic. In you know what I think, Mirage?
Man? I think they should just say fuck it, alienate half their audience, and be like, we're gonna put 2 feet in, no exploration mode. We're gonna design our game based around people not having all their icons on and shit, and make it so that you can tell where stuff is through intuition and like our game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love
for
that.
Sure.
That would be but I don't think they do it, but I would love that. This is a step in the right direction. I think I'm liking it more, but I feel like they should just go all in on that.
SBZ says something. I'll disagree with you, SBZ, just for the spite of it. He says, sorry, but Odyssey and Valhalla are not AC. They should be under a different title. I absolutely think that they're fine to be called AC. I've never been bothered by that. Like they definitely feel different, but to me, There's a lot of factors in those games that still do feel like the old ones. There's a lot of stuff, and the company chose to call it AC. So therefore, it is AC. Like, regardless if we like it or not,
They made it.
they called it AC. So it's like,
They
you
say
get
that shit about
I mean,
Zelda all the
I
time.
personally think you could make the same argument for Black Flag. That Black Flag is so
exactly.
different,
Dude, it's so funny you mention that, because I agree that
and
Black
the British
Flag
one.
and the
Sorry.
British one and Liberation and Rogue all were like,
All of them.
Yeah.
Hush Out Ghoul, $2 super chat. Do you want 3 Mirages or 1 Valhalla? Jesus, that's a terrible decision. Well,
Like the
Valhalla's
same
patched
game?
up and it's got great DLC in Ragnarok. So I'd probably want.
I prefer the town-based ones for sure. I like the smaller town-based ones.
SBZ, I asked if people do no HUD, and a lot of people, it looks like no HUD, but dynamic no HUD is the one. No HUD FC Primal was completely different game for the better, Benjamin says. Yeah, no HUD.
It can get very frustrating to turn off the compass, as I did, because
agreed.
you don't.
Oh, I kept it
Because
on.
when you have to like locate the wanted posters, that gets really cumbersome.
Cumbersome. Yeah, no, dude, I agree. The of all the ones that you start to feel like, that's the thing, is I feel like they need to figure out a new HUD, a new sense setting for the player if they turn the HUD off.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe green for the point you've made on the map. Just one green blob, so that you can hit the button and go, okay, you have to use your ninja sense or whatever the hell that's called.
Like an intelligent way, like Tsushima, you know, somehow do it in the game world.
Well, they could use the eagle, right? Because you already used the eagle.
What if
for
the
a lot of
eagle
stuff.
like flew over your waypoint area unless
Something
you
like
called
that.
him? That would actually work pretty well as a visual indicator that that's where I put my waypoint, because why put a waypoint if you can't?
It's like a flying
see
UAV.
the waypoint?
Because I mean, think of it this way. Think of it this way: the eagle is never visible until you summon it, I believe. So what if you saw it kind of ahead?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the direction you have to go. So maybe it's just landed up on a building.
Well, if you do stop moving, the eagle will land near you. You do see that.
Does it? Okay,
it does.
I didn't catch
it does.
that.
If you rest on a
friend.
roof and just watch the world like I was doing,
But
because
do you get what I mean? Like if the eagle kind of like lands
for sure agree.
somewhere, that would be a cool natural.
So let's go
way.
with the controversial topic, and I'm going to back this up 100%. I won't back down. At least no one's been able to make me back down. So if you guys do, I will. If you guys can prove I'm wrong on this, I will back down. AC Mirage should have been Valhalla DLC. And here's why. 1, Valhalla sold $1 billion. It's almost $2 billion, which means a lot of owners. 2, their DLCs are considered good usually. Atlantis, Jack the Ripper, Ragnarok, so forth. 3, they've stopped Valhalla's support currently, which means no festivals and no timed events. They're done. You can't get that code and that access. My belief is if this was DLC, the expectation would be lower. The price point would probably be lower. No, would surely be lower than what it is now. And you already have an established fan base. And if you have somebody saying, I didn't like Valhalla, so I won't get Mirage, they are running into the problem currently, which is that if you did not like Valhalla, you may not like Mirage, because there is a lot about Valhalla in Mirage as a standalone. Yeah. I feel that the price point and all this could have been shoved in and stated, this is a huge expansion for our game. Eivor eats some mushrooms in the backyard, has a vision quest, goes back in time.
You know what's interesting? Oh, sorry.
But I just want to know if you guys, is that dumb? That's not my only reasons, but those are I legitimately think it would have helped Ubisoft themselves sell this title and get people to maybe return to Ragnarok, have a knock-on effect for other sales. But do you guys agree? Do you disagree?
I feel like either DLC or like a lower price point. If it were a DLC, I feel like it wouldn't be like a middling game. It would be like one of the best DLCs ever made or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It would be. It would.
So that you have a point there.
Because it switches everything up. Imagine people saying, here's the DLC that does switch things up. And then you go into it, and if you played Valhalla, you're like, I get the movement. Versus a person who buys this and starts walking around, they're going to go, what? Like, it doesn't feel right.
I think maybe the reason they didn't do it is because they wanted to appeal to this public that didn't like the direction of the recent AC games and that wanted a more like assassin vibe. And maybe the idea is, well, if we market it as a DLC, people are going to think it's the same gameplay, even though it's obviously, same engine and stuff, right? It's very similar, but people are not going to think
Johnny, is it's the bait and switch because it is the same gameplay. See, so I get why you're saying they obviously agreed with you because they did what you said. What I'm saying is the opposite. I think now having played it and seen it, that it would have actually been better to do it as DLC.
So you're similar
right.
enough that it feels like the same game, kind of. I mean, for you,
yeah, it doesn't it to you guys. I mean, it feels like a weaker Eivor running around with.
Well, I think there are some differences, right? Like the focus on assassination, like you can assassinate any character no matter their.
Yeah, the way the game plays.
Which Ragnarok did the same. It switched things up too. Go ahead, Abzi.
Oh, did it? Okay, got it.
Very much so. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like the content is entirely different, and like how you approach the content is entirely different. But can I say context? Like the feel, the technical feel of it is
Valhalla.
Like you can feel the same skeleton there.
Same
you know what I mean?
bones.
Like while you're parkouring, while you're doing like moving and stuff like that, you feel it. But the way you play it is entirely different. So, yeah. Which would have been awesome for a DLC, honestly. Like thinking about it,
I just think it would have been. And they could have kept support up because I know people who were beside themselves that like the festival stuff was gone from Valhalla because they just stopped support, which I've already said that's stupid. They need to figure out a way to program that in, regardless if they're doing support. Like you don't remove Halloween. It seems like they could program that. Go ahead, Silver. What were you going to say? Sorry.
I completely understand where you're coming from, but I think what Johnny made in part is a pretty good argument, particularly it was such an important part for them to sort of relaunch or sort of rebrand this aspect of Assassin's Creed of going back to basics, I think. To the extent that even I've seen pictures from like the end credits of the game where they actually put up a special message that, oh, we dedicated this game to the older Assassin's Creed games and to like the franchise. This is a love letter to those games and stuff that we made. So I think that messaging is a pretty clear branding exercise in that, and I think making the game completely separate from Valhalla was probably an important part of that.
Yeah,
I think it also ties into like the shareholder stuff and stuff that outside of that, where you can tell shareholders, oh, we have a completely separate Assassin's Creed title that we're developing and launching, rather than, oh, we're making more content for Valhalla. But I think you make a very good point that it could have been part of Valhalla's infrastructure very, very easily. But it does feel, I think, substantially different in the terms of like both the gameplay, but also like the tools you get to play around with.
And the upgrade system for those is great.
Yeah, and like the upgrade system also feels different from Valhalla. You're not like running around like mining resources all over the place,
right?
And whatnot, like hacking rocks to pieces and stuff. That like you're just stealing stuff out of chests and stuff.
So let me explain why this bothers me so much. Because it would have been a more impactful moment to say, look what we can do with our platform. We can make Ragnarok a roguelite in Valhalla and nail it. Ragnarok is incredible. We can do Mirage. And in the future, with our shit we're rolling out, by the way, which they've already stated they're doing, where they're mixing it all together anyway, this could have been a precursor to that. So instead, to me, the credit love letter is the world's worst love letter because it is not as different. And it's expensive, more expensive than it probably would have been as DLC. And it sets up an expectation even more. When you separate and you say, here's the new, and it's separated, it caused an expectation that, by the way, I'm not saying anybody's wrong if they hit those expectations and had issues. I just, now that it's all said and done, I'm just questioning them as a business because obviously I don't know how to run businesses. But I'm going to say it anyway. I just There's
yeah.
something about it that I, as a developer, even would have been prouder to say, look at us. Valhalla was this, Ragnarok was this, and Mirage is this. All
how flexible is our engine that we can do all
we
these?
can do this. And there would have been a little bit more of an expectation of, for example, John Linneman saw one of my comments from Digital Foundry, and he posted back, and he's like, oh my God, what? I thought it was totally blah, blah, blah. He hadn't played it yet. I was like, it's not. And if you go into it knowing it's not, you're going to be far more prepared for the moments when it is, and the moments when you hit it and go, So I get everything you guys are saying. I'm just second guessing that company anyway. I just see the price, and I think the price was maybe.
I think it could have worked.
Maybe $10 cheaper might have helped them a little bit too.
I think the ability to price it at that point is also a significant reason why they made it separate.
True.
Dude, in my ideal world,
That's a good point. Go ahead, Absy. That's a good
in my
point.
ideal world, it would be a standalone, make it even like $60 standalone, but with its own either like not completely different engine, but like a whole different version, or not using the same skeleton, like just like going back. We're bringing back the old school AC vibe, and we're gonna make a whole new infrastructure for it. That would have been like the perfect thing for me,
and probably been another year for development.
Maybe,
Right.
It's a much bigger endeavor.
Cristiano Souza, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Also, a $5 super chat. Where was it said you can try a game out before purchase? Where was it said you can rent or try a game out before purchase? Where was it said you can? I don't know what that means. But you can. You can use
EA
Uplay.
has those options, right? EA has
EA,
like a plus
any of. I mean, technically, you could consider any of the streaming services rent, because that's what you're doing.
I think PS Plus has some try titles where you can go in and try it for a limited time.
Like Steam refunds for 2 hours.
Steam refunds.
Neil Campbell, $2 super chat. Hi from the rainy Highlands. What's up, man? I think you were in here last time where I was saying now you're going to make me think of Highlander this entire time. Looking in here, Karak, you think this game will sell as good as Valhalla? No, not even in this. Not even in the same. Valhalla is a block. But this is why I always tell people, don't think that just because this was made or whatever, that they're going away from Valhalla. Like more than $1 billion. It's what fans want. I got somebody mad at me when I was trying to explain it, that I was like, you don't understand. New gamers, this might be their first one. Mirage might be their first one. Valhalla might be their first one. It's obvious Valhalla's working, regardless if we like it or not.
I will say, it's like the monetization in Mirage did irk me a little bit. Like right off the bat, almost in the tutorial, it's like, oh, check out the in-game store.
And I hated the pop-ups
and whatnot.
I missed that.
I didn't
know there was.
I think the store was off when I went in, but I didn't. So what was the monetization? Maybe, skins, or was it money for merchants? I was worried about that.
Well, there's both. There you can buy like the currency, like the silver currency. And various skins. And for me, it like directly came up with like a message window where it said, "Remember to check out the store."
I feel like most of them do.
A couple of minutes after like starting the tutorial.
I think I just tuned it out or something. Maybe that's why I didn't realize.
Yeah, I mean, or I have notifications off for Uplay or something. But I agree that they pop up in other games, so I'm assuming they pop up here. I also ignore them quite easily, because most of the time they only pop up once or twice. But if you start getting
to be fair, it only popped up the once, but that once was enough to sort of.
Well, it's weird because I was watching my friend play, and it was popping up quite often, and I don't know if it's that sounds like a bug. Ubisoft launcher, or if it's in the game itself. But on the right of your screen, there would always be a.
Right, that's completed? Not the store. That's challenge completed, and they can turn that off.
So that was one thing that was also popping up, but there was a different one that looked different. That was about in-game stuff. It's like about the store, and other times it was a kind of tutorials about the game as well. But this was, hours in, and it was still quite.
Dude, I have even today when I played, I got nothing, zero. Once I turned off challenges. and Uplay. Once I turned off the Uplay stuff, no alerts whatsoever for the store.
So
anything
maybe
ever
that's
come
a
up.
solution then. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say turn it off and see. But that
Yeah.
somebody else was wondering if it was console versus PC. That could be.
No, well, this was on PC. I imagine you were as well.
I was on
PC.
both.
Okay. Yeah.
And Rogerio, 50R super chat. I don't remember what R is. What's up, buddy? Always a long-term fan. I appreciate it, man. What somebody asked, which currency is R? R question mark. I don't know. Or R? Brazil.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, I would say that overall, though, the people who know enough about what it's offering and still want to dive in, you're probably going to be pretty happy. It's funny because I liked it, but I had a lot of issues. And I thought it was going to steer more towards that. And admittedly, I haven't seen all the reviews, but I was stunned not only with the high reviews, super high, not stunned as in I don't believe them. I was just surprised. But also the people playing it, for the majority, every person I've seen playing it likes it. They may have some issues here and there, but they're genuinely liking it, which to me is very cool because you never quite know what's going to happen. But it's like we have a Discord. The LAN Discord's 2,000 people. We have the ACG Discord, and people are genuinely just enjoying themselves, which to me is like it's cool because it's going to be a shorter game before they get into the others. Be able to dive in, stab some people in the back, and move on. And
nice palate cleanser.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, right. Yeah. Anything else for Assassin's Creed Mirage?
I like the new I don't think I mentioned it, but I like that there's a crime system, and then if like normal NPCs see you kill someone or do something, they you get wanted and stuff, and you could just tear pages.
Does it bother you, Abzy, that you're trying to save these people from the yoke of an evil ruler,
hey, man,
and they turn you in right away?
Yeah. This is how us vigilantes roll.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Batman is helping people, and they're like, "That's Batman, go get him." You're like, "Dude, I just saved you." Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I would save somebody and accidentally like steal, like not hit the right button, and you're pickpocketing, and then I screw up the pickpocket.
Dude, on
and
hard, like, some of them are difficult. If someone has an artifact, you go like,
"Oh, it's a pixel."
I mean,
I like
found
it though.
Artifacts impossible until I upgraded the pickpocket skill.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. I'm hitting them. I'm hitting them.
I've hit one or two where it's 1 pixel wide, but I think it was just hitting, and luckily, like the time was right versus any skill on my part.
As Silver said, I love the chase. I love having to run away and stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, because if you stick around, you can fight out many times, or you can experiment. But after a while, there's this like it's a point of attrition. Where it's like you get a little slice, death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing. You're like, oh my God, okay, it's time to run. Everything goes away at that point. SP3CU 30 PLN. I can't remember what PLN is. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Poland?
Moving on. I don't know. Poland. Yeah, that makes sense. Moving on from there, let's discuss Forza. So Forza.
No, but they have a set as their currency. They use Slutty. Yeah.
I think he reminds me every time too. So looking at Forza, I think universally from what I've seen is everybody likes it, but the career system is bonkers, man. Like it's every review, every person I've talked to. I'm like, what do you think?
Blah, is it blah, back to the leveling thing you guys discussed?
It's just that leveling thing. Yeah, Abzy and I covered it on Wednesday. It just is it's
do that.
So just so people understand, people like me who don't play a lot of these more serious racing games, is it common for you to have like an experience?
No, this is what Abzy said on Wednesday, where somebody saw an RPG and for reasons no one will ever be able to figure out, turned every single character into an NPC with like an experience level. It just...
Dude, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of what Ghost Recon Breakpoint did on launch, and then they had to like add an option to turn all that
with the
shit
gun
off.
leveling thing,
with all the weird division leveling stuff, and like a what it's supposed to be a more realistic, military stealthy type of game. Yeah, sort of reminds me of. Hopefully, they add a patch that like lets you turn all that shit off.
Oh, it'd be nice. I mean, you can get around it with free ride and stuff, but it's just not the same. The career just is. It's. And it's missing a lot of other stuff. Like I said in my impressions, I was like, I'm really surprised at the low number of races. Laps, tracks.
How are the opportunities for like endurance racing?
Not amazing. So in the events, very low. There's some events that are longer, but in the free ride advanced make your own race editor up, you can turn off the ×4 time, because it's like doing ×4 for daytime, ×4 speed. You can turn that off.
Right.
And then you can have longer races and stuff, but it's just up to you on how you set it. But it isn't as, it's certainly not Le Mans 24 like the Dreamcast
Like
version.
most races, I imagine, are like 5-10 minutes or something.
Yeah, I did have a couple longer ones in some events, but they weren't anywhere near a sim game. It's a sim light. Forza is right in that like sim light section. You know, even with the steering wheel options, when I looked, I feel like it was missing. It had a bunch of options, but it was missing the finesse options you might see the real sim, you know, the real like tight sim guys wanting. It still had a bunch, but it was like, you could tell it was, and the accessibility parts were awesome. It was accessible as hell. I mean,
yeah, like, that I was really impressed with in your review. From what I
they covered that. I mean, there's like blind racing and all this kinds of crazy shit. Isn't it just the same parts, same as parts for cars that are locked behind you earning money? No, it is not. In fact, it's exactly not that. It is where you have to level every car you get, including the same car if you buy another version of the car. And what sucks is all the levels unlock upgrades, which means if you jump around at the starting of the game, just when you get level 4 or whatever, and you unlock like cooling, you get reset to a different car, and you have to watch them tell you can put rims on your car 200 times. And I'm telling you, I was speaking of pop-ups that bothered me. I was like, oh, if I see a picture of these rims one more time, I'm going to throttle somebody. Drugba, $5 super chat. Thoughts Forza shipping with no local split screen at launch? Not bothered. I love split screen, but I'm not bothered by its lack of inclusion anymore. I would love for it to be there, but it also, if you talk to any devs, GDCs, they cover the technical limitations that split screen on the same system. It's ridiculous in how much it requires from video cards and GPUs and stuff like that.
Do you miss it? Did you guys used to do it?
I used to do it somewhat, but we would trade off because we wanted the full screen.
Not really for racing games.
Not really for racing games. Interesting.
Dude, what I love is like passing the controller type thing.
I love that much more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have somebody who can read the map for you. Like if you're doing a racing game where your car is going 250, somebody can be like hard right turn. You're like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Like that, you can have an active
co-driver.
Yeah.
Dude, some of the best times I had was doing just that, but not in a racing game, like playing Dino Crisis and other games with a buddy. You know, he would have a guide, and we would, get through the game. And so I would play at times, and other times I would be on the guide and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it's a great time.
I like the idea of split screen. I love it, but it's just not. I mean, we're seeing like 4090s and stuff not posting enough frames that you could split it by 60. And then you start to see a lot of the culling that goes on. I think with racing games, it's going to be easier than a Halo. That's one of the reasons why shooters are difficult, because one grenade is, the tester lobs one grenade into a pile of 10, and that's their max test. But if two people are playing, now you have to get your fill rate to fill up two grenades hitting 20,
and
which is,
dude, even thinking about the sound, right? Because one person is hearing it from whatever over there.
Yeah,
remember when we saw
a
way out
threads
in those games? Yeah, those games that are doing this type of co-op thing, we would be puzzled. Like, wait, what are we hearing? Are we hearing it from the nose?
Yeah, Mark says, "Mark my words, man. They're patching this out." No, Michael said that. Sorry, no, Mark. Let's see. It feels like a step back from what their other motorsport games were. Yeah, I would agree with that. Even though it's not all a step back,
I think it's hard to see them directly patching out such a fundamental part
of their career. You think so? In this day and age of Cyberpunk 2.0s?
I mean, it's not impossible.
Ghost Recon did it.
Ghost Recon, yeah. Ghost Recon patched, or didn't patch. Did it give you the option to turn it off or something?
Yeah, but I honestly don't see much of a comparison there. I don't think.
True. There is they are. Yeah,
was as fundamental.
Yeah, that is true. The leveling was nowhere near as this is built into the game,
and also
right?
because there you didn't get reset. Like all the weapons leveled with you. I mean, I know it felt completely alien to what Ghost
we were
Recon was
accustomed to.
supposed to be, but it didn't have the same sort of infrastructure in terms of a system.
I don't know. I feel like if they just made they could just make all items available and just make it just work on the economy aspect of it.
I agree.
Just make it
like
money based.
It right now, I just hate it. I mean, I hate it. And I love the game. I love the racing. I think the racing feel is great. I love some of the look of the game when you're racing with 24 racers in thunderstorms, pitch black. And it's just like, I was telling Abzi that there are times where when it feels so good, by the way, that I told Abzi about a race I was doing where I was racing the car I used to race. And I came up on a corner and I was able to go, I know that car needs 15 to 20 extra feet to brake this S-turn because I drove it for 4 hours. And I'm going to use
real
that.
life?
And well, yeah, speaking of, because I drove my real car in real life, but no, in the game, I had played it as well. And I knew what it needed. And I used that to win so many races where I would creep up on in the S-turn. I'd be like, he's 75, I'm 50. So you blast past them, and then you crank on yours and you cut, and it's just like, oh, that feels so good. And they did a really good job with all of that feeling and the slipstream, getting behind somebody. Right. All that's really well done. Really well done. 2 podcasts per week is amazing. Thanks so much. I love listening to you guys chat. It's time for me to support on Patreon and join the Discord. Yes, it is. Vincent, welcome.
Thank you so much.
You jump in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It helps big time. Yeah, man, I'm excited to see people jump in, but it sucks that there's this thing there that might really stymie a lot of people.
Like the racing weekends handled, like from the practice, the qualifying to the race itself.
What qualifying?
Really?
So it's a practice lap, and listen to this. This is unique. I don't dislike it, but it's not a qualifying lap. One thing I do like is when you get in the race, you can choose your pole position. The lower back, the more experience you get. So you can start at the very back.
That's easily interesting. Yeah.
It is. It is. So you're betting on yourself. And I got to tell you, setting yourself to 24, bro.
It's a better system anyway.
It's a better than nothing, right? I caught myself actually being very interested in who the racers were and my score on this track to decide where I was going to choose. And I got to tell you, I sort of dug that. It's not a replacement for but
I can understand why.
Yeah, there was this, oh shit, woo woo. I'm going to go to, maybe 18 and just see, and then I'm better. Yeah. I'm in the startups. I'm always better on the right. So it's like there's certain things that I know are sort of my weaknesses for certain tracks. And
because I mean, for me, as like someone who loves racing games, what's been one of the main weaknesses of particularly Forza Horizon is that in Forza Horizon it feels like win or nothing. If you don't win, the race it doesn't count for much in terms of like rewards and stuff. How does
this removes that completely?
Right.
It's giving you experience on everything you do. They break up the race into the turns, the straightaways, and they give you experience points for doing better. They give you experience points for good turns, all that. It's like Gotham Racer for the Dreamcast, Xbox, like ancient to go kudos, right? The kudos system they used to use. All that you still get regardless of first, second, or third. And that includes free race day, or not free race day, but your advanced track editor where you just go in, or advanced race editor where you just go into the race and you decide I'm just going to race. You still get a little bit of experience just for
that sounds really positive.
Yeah, so that's the positive.
Sometimes like fighting for like fifth or fourth can be as fun as fighting for first.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get points. By the way, you could I didn't do this, but you could possibly cheat a little bit by like purposely getting in front of them and letting them get in front of you, because you get a point for passing somebody. You get a takeover like 40 experience.
Oh, so yeah.
You could technically, if you found a slow car,
stay in the slipstream or whatever and rack up.
Yeah, you might be able to cheat that system a little bit. I did not try, but now that I think about it, you definitely could. Yeah, you definitely could. David, welcome as a YouTube member. Thank you very much, my friends. So anyway, yeah, it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. Yeah, it's a racing game that's not going to appeal to everybody, and they've made some choices that are
to me. One of the things that triggered me a lot in Horizon was whenever if there were like 4 races in a row where you didn't win, the game would say, "Oh, do you want to lower the settings? You're not winning.
Yeah, you're not good enough."
Yeah.
I did good, so I was doing
even
well,
if you were coming in like second, third, or
yeah,
like
it's like
podiums
we've noticed
or
you're not winning. Would you like to turn down the difficulty? Jesus, $5 super chat. More podcasts every week, the better. Love the decision. Thank you very much. It's been awesome all around. There hasn't been a negative to it. Moving. So, Abzy, I didn't track this. Jennifer Hale was complaining about an old job she had and just not getting paid. What was this about? 1998.
Because the new Metal Gear Solid remasters. I love Jennifer Hale, by the way. I think she's a fantastic voice actress. Awesome. But I saw something weird where she complained about getting paid only like $1,800 when the game went on to make like 100 million or something like that. And I just found it really, really weird because it doesn't matter, because like you got a contract and you saw how much you were getting paid and you signed up and you thought your time was worth that much, and it doesn't matter how much the game ends up making unless in the contract it's stated that you deserve royalties or something
royalties
like that,
or
right?
residuals.
Yeah, like, and it's 1998. Like, you got to see how competitive voice acting was in terms of income. And then she made like a larger statement about how employers make way more money than the employees and stuff like that. But I just found it weird because she's like a multimillionaire or whatever. I heard her net worth is like 5 to 10 million or whatever. So I just found it like really, really odd to bring that up, you know, like, oh, a game went on to make like 100 million.
I mean, I understand where she's coming from. I mean, yeah, you signed a contract, but you also have to understand there's a power dynamic in signing that contract where at play that's potentially inherently exploitative, because one side has all the leverage.
But I mean,
and so that I
agree with you. But what Abzy is saying is you signed the contract.
Yeah, like you agree.
Yeah, because the alternative is potentially no work at all.
Right. But now again, this is 98.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the terms of the contract aren't unfair or that you can't complain about the terms of the contracts.
Well, you can complain about anything.
She complained only after the work
it's
was
24
done,
years later.
Years after. The game went on to make 100 million. Like, okay, so like it doesn't matter if you got how much you got paid.
Do you think it was more FOMO? Like,
yeah, because
I think it was. It sounds like FOMO, which is real, by the way. But you know, you see somebody do well when you leave or whatever, and you're like, God damn it, you know, like maybe it was that. Maybe it was that. But it does feel like taking an ancient thing and trying to mix it into the current dynamic today, where some things track, but some
1998,
don't.
How much did voice actors get paid? Like, what was competitive at the time? You know?
Yeah, right. And was that good at the time? And like, yeah, I don't know. It was definitely an odd. I listened to a bit of the conversation. I saw some of the like write-ups about what she was saying, and it sounded to me like it was maybe somebody just saying, oh my God, look how much this made, and I only made this from it, which is a different conversation than saying I should have made residuals, or I should have made more. And again,
that is very true.
Yeah, I don't know, because I didn't listen to it, and it's hard to know what.
And also, saying. I mean, also you have to remember that the conversation around video games and voice actors is different from like residuals from like motion pictures, where games rarely market themselves on the actors. Like true. Metal Gear Solid, like, all due respect to Jennifer Hale, but Metal Gear Solid didn't earn that money because of her performance as Naomi Hunter.
Right.
That wasn't what drove the profits for that game.
Right.
But I mean, I do understand the dynamic there, because the dynamic is inherently exploitative when you're on the other end there, and you don't have any leverage for negotiation or anything, and you feel like you've been taken somewhat advantage of. So I understand that aspect. But
I'm sure it feels bad, like seeing something.
And I mean,
like that
and the argument
makes so much, but
and the argument that, oh, she's a millionaire, so she can't criticize capitalism, I really don't buy into.
I buy into that. I hate, dude, there are so many people profiting off like just fucking like eat the rich and stuff like that, and they're making like $40,000 a month on Patreon. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, they pretend like they're part, like
he's not talking about her, by the way, because she doesn't.
No, not her, no. Where it's like, oh, I feel you, I feel what you're going through and stuff, and don't pay your rent and shit, and they're like, they're saying that and getting paid to say that. I just don't like it at all.
For sure, there are people who take advantage of it, but I don't think there's an inherent issue with being rich that makes you unable to sort of
no.
criticize the system that you engage in and that you're a part of. It's like
just the context of it.
like-
It
like-
just makes it seem like she's.
it's
like
a lot like
doing worse than she
for
is.
me it's off, because as a leftist I've often like witnessed sort of leftist internal struggles with puritanism where there's often internal squabbles because Craig bought a car, Craig engaged in capitalism, Craig is not like a true Marxist or whatever the fuck, and then it just devolves into
No,
complete
but
anarchy.
they live in a capitalist. Like, what are they supposed to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. You have to engage in the system that you're a part of, and you have to make
Right.
compromises as part of that system. So that's sort of always been a particular issue for me.
Yeah, it's just been an issue with me because I've seen a lot of people profit off of like that rhetoric.
Well, for sure.
You know.
It's so weird too, because I saw the discussion in Discord, which, by the way, thanks to everybody as always. Everybody was like laid back, and well, this is what it's just always to read. It's always awesome to see Discord versus YouTube, I guess I'll just say, or whatever. Twitter. But one thing that I do find that's happening right now is people are dredging up 25 years ago to talk about current day issues. And it loses a little bit of its luster as a discussion point, because I'm like, well, was that a lot? How long did you work? If it's just a number, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I certainly have underbid projects 20 years ago compared to now, where I've underbid projects even now. But I will say that sometimes I think the discussion should almost not have to do with anybody and what they make or what they made on a past game, and just be like, the current day blah 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 needs to be adjusted. And then I'm like, okay, it makes sense. But dredging up something from that long ago doesn't inform me. I'm not saying she was trying to inform me. I'm just saying I didn't get enough information from it to go like, I get it or I don't get it. I was like, everybody obviously in voice acting, we know because we've had them on the podcast, they're not getting paid a lot. So I firmly believe they should. But
most infamous example, but Nico Bellic, right?
I don't know.
The Nico Bellic voice actor who sued Rockstar and everything.
Oh shit!
Back then for
they didn't pay him.
4. He didn't get. I don't think he got like a. He wasn't happy with his residuals, certainly, and he sued them for it in a major lawsuit that I got widely reported at the time.
See, sometimes I don't know, because I'm like, I'm unhappy with a lot of stuff, but if that was the deal I made, then I need to know that the next deal I make, I have to take that old deal into account. But if I made that deal, then it's hard for me to go back and be like, I want to like re-sue you for more. I mean, I don't know, man. It's so
right.
Yeah. I have a question.
So we're really sue happy too. She's not suing, by the way. I want to talk. I'm talking about currently. We see a lot of this happening, and I'm always a little confused by it. Go ahead.
Let's say you're Konami, right, and you're doing these remasters, okay? And what do you think the ethical? Let's contract aside and stuff. What do you think the ethical thing would be to do when you're remastering a game? Do you think you have to repay the actors, or how would you even go about that, or do you just not pay them at all because they didn't work on anything new? They only did their job once and they're done. But you're reselling their voice again, kinda.
Yeah.
What do you think the ethical answer is?
I think there should be some kind of residual.
I think there should be. Are we talking about I absolutely think they should probably figure out a way to say, you got paid $800 5 years ago. We're remaking Last of Us. Where you got paid $800 because you were like a side NPC. Here's today's version of $800. But I will tell you guys this: every contract company I know of right now is writing in any residual stuff so that in the future this conversation goes away. And it can still will still complain. But I mean the residual that kind of stuff will be built in, because it wasn't built in. And for the longest time, and it should have been. And it happened to the movie actors and the TV show actors, where they went from cable to streaming. And you hear these people going, I made 1 cent from Netflix. It's the #1 show on Netflix, and I made 1 cent. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's an issue. Like, there's like, because you already had it written in, but they changed the entire way. And there was another gamer. Oh, it wasn't it Black Widow. The actress for Black Widow sued because they said it was going to be a movie, and instead they released it on streaming. Or maybe it was during the theaters being at home where you could buy the membership and watch a movie at home. I think it was Black Widow. I think it was Scarlett Johansson. Was like they told her it was going to be in the theaters.
It was one of the Marvel
which she
things.
gets the theater grab, and
It was
instead
just like an on-demand movie.
instead it was on demand. Yeah. So that, and that's a real. I mean, you have to have lawyers look at it because I don't know if you guys have seen. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen it, but you see a contract and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there, and I wrote contracts, and I remember you'd have a small section to write. And then everybody would put it together, and then another person would go over it because not one person could write the contract. You'd grab boilerplate,
notary or whatever.
We had multiple people who would go over contracts like 10 times.
And one of the biggest things there is like good faith and bad faith, like when entering into it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same thing. I was kind of bringing it to music, which is the world that I know more. But if I worked on a song, let's say that I did the guitar part for a song years ago, and today they remaster it or do something different with that, I would definitely
with music there's usually royalties.
I would get something from that for sure.
Gotcha.
Outside of the legal question, that makes ethical sense to me because I had a part in the product that's being put out today as well, in a way. So
I will say this:
at the same time, you were already paid for your time, right?
Right. I was going to say, if it's not in the contract, I think a lot of us, including myself, because I have a company that I used to work is doing amazing, right? And I'm not a part of the profit sharing anymore, but I didn't have that in my contract to be a part of that profit sharing. So
it also depends.
I get FOMO for sure. Where I'm like, damn, I wish, but there was no, now we need companies to make sure it's written into everything because the digital media delivery is completely different than it used to be. And so the old stuff, I don't know what to do. You're sort of screwed. We all get, it sucks. We all sort of,
it's different how you sign it because you could be a session musician that just came in to record, that day versus being like a part of the band, and then you have some ownership rights, and it would be, I guess, similar for an actor in how they sign it off.
Yeah, I want everybody to get paid, but I also believe that if you signed something and we're now moving 2-3 decades later, a lot of it is just like when we make a bad decision or a decision you had to make at a bad time. I have friends who have turned tricks. I mean, I have one really good friend she had nothing, and but she doesn't hold, she's just like, that was a bad decision at the time. It was the only way I could do this and that. By the way, that it's a bad analogy. I'm just saying it's when you do something in your past, you signed or you did something and then you learn from it. It's funny because Abzi and I spent almost 2 hours talking in the last podcast about learning experiences as you get older and looking back and going, okay.
Oh yeah, I fucked myself, dude. I fucked myself before.
Yeah. Or it wasn't available.
That are now making so much money.
Oh yeah, no, dude, that's happened to me. Yeah, where you're I know that feel. Hush Al Ghul, $5 super chat. It happened to the Witcher writer because he chose to take a large sum. Yeah, if you choose, that's on you. I don't see any real. It's like the lottery. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this. Never take the bulk sum in a lottery because the taxes and everything. Take the payment option. But I think that not only makes sense, but also for investment, it makes sense. And if you're a bad spender, it makes sense. You're getting a little bit so you can pay off some bills if you make stupid decisions, like I'm sure I would if I won the lottery. But it sucks that she feels that way. Hopefully, on remakes and all that, these companies, I believe, should just go and say, like, we are paying you whatever the equivalent is of the last, like, we're going to give you some versus nothing. Because we know a lot of them, if it's not in the contract, they're not going to do this. They're just not. Yep. Which sucks. So I think if I was a company, I would look back and be like,
I love that perspective of just ownership. Even if you fell for a predatory contract in the past, take ownership of that and, make them sure, right? That
even
next
though,
time.
I want to point out though, Johnny, it's not predatory if it didn't exist as a structure. And I think some of these old contracts, there was quite literally no structure. And what I'm saying is, even if there was no structure, it'd be nice if a company said, listen, we didn't screw you over. we paid you exactly what you wanted. You were happy at the time. Now you're not because these are changing.
That's true.
We're going to meet you halfway and be like, hey,
I was thinking, even if I grant you that it was a predatory, like even if we go all the way to, it was like evil,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get you. One thing, one positive to come of those types of things, though, and maybe that's one reason to do that type of thing, is to raise visibility around those things so that in the future people don't fall into the same traps. Like if I speak out about a bad contract that I took, maybe that will help someone else not fall into that in the future. I think that's maybe the positive lens to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, that is you don't have to always do the dumb thing to learn from somebody else who, you don't have to always do it. If you're open-minded, if I hear one of you guys talk about something, I will listen, because I'll be like, okay, I don't want to do that. I'll go check a Reddit for a service that I might use, because even though we know most people who have a good experience won't post that, I can see the, how many bad ones there are and go, okay, I sort of get it.
Yeah,
they're not always true,
sure.
but you're just like, what do I have to do? And that's the thing with life. People want to game life. It's very difficult to game life. It is very difficult. You can't all pretend Goggins is right. Jet 2030, $1 super chat. You guys rock. Thanks for all the work you put in, as always. Got something to listen to. Yeah, you bet. The voice actor isn't the one taking the risk, pumping millions of dollars into the development of a game. That is one thing. One's paid up front, and the other one is like the company and the
she
infrastructure.
Didn't invest in it. Yeah.
But not her. I mean, anybody. Like,
anybody.
Yeah, anybody. I mean, even we talk about this all the time. It's like, for example, no, that's too in the woods. I think sometimes too in the woods is also what the world is. We want to figure out the woods. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're just like, that was the past, and I get blamed for stuff that my parents' parents didn't even do, and I'm still blamed for it. And I'm like, listen, I'm not, some people know what I'm talking about, and I'm just
I'm
just like, well,
gotta stop at some point.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not me. And if you treat me poorly because you think it is, I'm gonna let you know. But at the same time, it happens. So, I
just want to make. I think it's true that they don't incur like the financial risk, but depending on the performance, there is a potential health risk involved with the straining the vocal cords and the performance.
But there's a potential health risk for sitting and doing texture work. On a PC. Yeah. That's life. Life is risk.
EVT.
Yeah.
What is that? Deep vein thrombosis, man. Yeah, got to watch out for that shit.
A fun one.
Now you got me tapping my calves, man. You got me jiggling my feet right now.
Get up.
James Warsaw says, been watching you since Dying Light. Oh man, Dying Light. I remember when that came out, just being like, I liked
2015,
Dead Island a bunch too, but Dying Light, it was sort of ahead of its time. Let's move on to more positive stuff. I think we all agree it should be fixed.
Yes.
There should be we should move forward, and the structure should be adjusted. Moving on from there though. What do we got? What else? What other news do we got? Do we have any other news?
There was a change that Epic announced about Unreal licensing.
Good man.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I saw snippets, but go ahead. Go for it.
So here's how it works right now. You can go in and use Unreal Engine for free until you make a certain amount of money. I don't know if it was, $1 million. There's a number.
$1 million.
Yeah. So if you break that, then you have a percentage,
5%, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's the current model. What they're saying is a lot of people use the engine for non-gaming, but still professional. And they have some examples like industrial design and different things like that, which
Movies.
I don't know how real that is, but giving them the benefit of the doubt, that's their argument. And so it will be similar to an Adobe thing where you're paying for your, for one use, right? Like a per head type thing. So so that's coming out. And it's kind of pretty close to the debacle from Unity.
Wait, you have to pay subscription now?
Not right now. This will come out. Yeah.
Like when it
I
comes
think
out,
they said next year you will
you can't
like
just
Adobe.
use Unreal. Oh
Correct.
fuck me! No way,
Yeah.
dude. No
again,
way.
that's not everybody. I just want to point that out.
Is it not?
He
Okay.
split it
I
up.
thought it was like Adobe.
No, it's not everybody. There are some groups and industries that won't pay it. I would assume a lot of it, and it's what I read, was a lot of it has to do with the movie industry using Unreal to do giant movies, and there's no subscription
so it's not for
service.
personal like use. Like
Well,
we can
like
still...
he said, it's there's some we don't know because Tim just is talking.
They haven't announced the
we haven't got the
specifics
line yet.
Yep.
But
Gotcha.
he made it very clear that there will still be a free version for people. It's just that I think when you look at it and you start seeing Unreal and all the work that they've done, there is an idea of like, okay, at some point we're going to have to figure out a payment structure.
You know, I hadn't read that about the free version. As long as there is that for like the average Joe to jump in.
For some groups, again, we don't know what it is, but for some groups, they will not be charged at all. He made that clear. And it may even turn out to be like, if you're training kids at a school, that'll be free. Maybe. I'm just guessing, right? That would make sense. Unreal's like, hey, you want to, because we've already got the issue with Unity. But it's not that surprising that a major industry leader making the major industry engine and also running movies through it, entire movies, backgrounds, all of Mandalorian wouldn't exist without Unreal, right? So, like, I'm not necessarily too surprised. It just depends on the cost.
I get it. Yeah.
If they
I mean, when you look at Adobe, you might argue that what they offer is a much like simpler software compared to Unreal.
Yeah.
And there you have to pay like $20 per month.
I think what they also said was, I think they brought up that because Fortnite is dropping off in popularity, so what he had stated was that the income revenue and what they do were becoming separated. And that at the time, Fortnite was an umbrella finance where it was paying for everything. And Umbrella's dropped off, Fortnite's dropped off. And so these other entities need to start figuring out how to make money, which is probably tied into for sure tied into the layoffs too. So, Fortnite, that's the thing, guys. I don't know if I was doing this, I would have done this way earlier. Because I would have just been like, all right, we're being used for movies. We're going to have small, it doesn't have to be a ton, but we got to figure out a way because Fortnite's not going to be forever. Nothing's forever. And it's like Fortnite, they were doing some pretty crazy stuff in Fortnite. It's like you could tell there's a lot of development time going into Fortnite, regardless if you love Fortnite or not. I mean, didn't they have that one big, they had some big, was it Jason Derulo or do a concert in there or whatever? It was like the entire concert.
I think they had a bunch.
Yeah, a bunch.
Travis, fuck, never mind. I forgot his name.
Is it Travis something?
He's a rapper. Yeah. Not Travis Barker. Why do I always keep thinking of Travis Barker? I did this in the last podcast as well. Why is this guy in my head?
No, why is Travis Barker in your head?
Why is he? Blink 182?
Probably because he's married to the only
single
normal
recently.
Kardashian. Well, she's not normal, but most normal Kardashian, maybe. I assume. I think it'll be a threshold like theirs for games. So as a UE user, I'm not too worried. Already paying for Maya and Substance Painter. Ariana Grande did a.
There you go.
Really?
Travis Scott.
Oh my god, yes. That was I saw it on YouTube and that was insane. That looked like a really cool concert.
Yeah, but I bet you they paid him. It's not like he showed up and did that for free, right?
Yeah.
And at the top of their game,
like
if you're
concert.
Exactly. And or you get Jason Derulo just saying his own name 400 times in his songs.
Jason Derulo.
I think Jason Derulo has to have Alzheimer's by now. Like every song, he's like Jason Derulo, and I'm
constantly
like, dude, we know
himself.
who you are. Do you?
Yeah,
and then 30 seconds in the same song, he's like Jason Derulo. Dude, it's either the weirdest primal viral messaging, or he needs to remind himself like that it's him. It's like, dude, man, seriously.
Makes you wonder if he refers to himself in the third person.
Oh my, yeah, right. Like,
but,
Jason Derulo says
Basim does that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Basim refers to himself. Yep. Yeah, Basim refers to himself in third person.
Yep, sometimes. I am sure I have when I'm making a joke. Like, Karak won't do that, but
I've never done that in my life.
Joke around the way. Yeah, I don't think you've ever done it.
Terry loves yogurt. I've never
done
that.
Terry, the Terry thing.
Terry loves yogurt, man. What's so great about Brooklyn Nine-Nine is that wasn't even planned. Terry likes yogurt in real life.
Okay.
Yeah, so they said it was one time, and then they just said they went with it, and because it became this catch-all joke, and it works all the time.
Wow, he started that and 9-9. Oh my god, he started a lot of things, I guess.
Yeah, dude, I love it when it never works for what's her name, the main actress.
9-9. Why
she go 9-9? Nobody works. He does it, and she's like, why? Why does it only work for him?
Yeah, amazing.
But moving on from there and talking about other games, so we also, the big game I think would be what? Alan Wake is probably the biggest.
Alan Wake, Spider-Man?
And Spider-Man, yeah. Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reviewing Spider-Man 2. That'll be fun to do the review for that. I think that's, your number one big title that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Alan Wake, I tell you guys all the time, I'm just worried because Remedy doesn't sell well a lot of times. I don't know why, and I'm so stressed. Like, I'm not stressed because I'm a part of them. I just want them to see financial success in a phenomenal way. If it's good.
Way.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
But I think this is the perfect time for this game, because even though there are other big games in October, it's Halloween-ish, right? Area.
Halloween! Halloween! Sorry, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, continue.
Dude, it's huge because people modified their entire thing around Halloween, right? Like, spooky movies, everything. So it's dropping at the perfect time. And I feel like it is kind of in the zeitgeist. I think a lot of people are talking about it, and I hear hype. I see. Yeah. I think it's different than when Control came out.
I do not. But
there's
I hope you're right.
Released with Sam Lake. I think it's Sam Lake, right?
Yeah.
Who's the creative director? Just gives a recap of John Wick, and you can see these are masterminds with the stories they tell. They're just fucking crazy. They're off the walls, man.
For sure.
I think.
I mean, Max Payne was basically his Twin Peaks fan fiction.
It was basically, it was. You can with
the extra television show inside the video game.
It worked so well with him. First thing I want to say, thanks to all the people who watch the podcast, because we did get to, I think, number 8 or 9 in all the podcasts, even with 2 podcasts, which your chances are much lower. And I checked iTunes. I got an alert. It was like, dude, your podcast is moving up. And I definitely appreciate it, especially because it just seems like everybody's really enjoyed their time. But speaking of enjoying our time, I think one thing that I want to ask everybody, and you have to be truthful, we don't want to dive into I just want the guttural answer without a bunch of thinking. Do you enjoy games as much now as you used to?
Yeah, more.
Why more?
Absolutely.
And was it because in the past it was less, and so therefore it can only go up? Johnny first.
I've become better at single tasking now. I just focusing.
I've become better at not doing as much.
I know it sounds like a negative, but it's actually it's like before it felt like if I'm gonna be playing a game for hours, I kind of need another thing. I need also a podcast or a friend to talk to, or like some other stimulation. But I've gotten a lot better at taking a game and just looking at the game, listening to music, just diving deep into it. And sometimes I still like the dual thing where I'm having a chat with you guys and playing a game, or different things. But I've become way better at focusing, listening to dialogue. So what I'll do now is, instead of reading, because I read much quicker than listening, what used to happen is I would just be impatient because I'm reading and the line is still being said, but I'm already done with it. So I'd be impatient. But now I'm just looking at the character model, just taking in the dialogue. I'm not looking at the text, and that type of thing, small adjustments here and there have helped me a great deal. And I enjoy way more games like Starfield. I can get lost in there for 2 hours and be completely immersed because of these little adjustments.
All right. What about you, Abzy? Yes or no? Do you enjoy it now more?
Yes, I enjoy it more in a different way. I think I've grown as a person to just appreciate a lot of smaller things. You know what I mean? I don't take a lot for granted.
Is this a penis joke? No, sorry. Go on.
Man. You just
continue.
I'm not. No.
Here we go. Johnny just ruined everything with his comment. No, continue, Abzi. I want to hear you.
So, anyways, thank you,
Johnny.
Thank you. I will speak only to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before, as a kid, it was more of like wonder. You know what I mean? Like more of like, oh my god. Like I remember like Fallout 3. Oh my god, I blew up Megaton, and how, and wow, this is so cool. And I it was just like a full of and I liked like pretty much every game, even the bad ones. I didn't really nitpick a lot. And then I got into like, I'm in the industry kind of now. I'm in this podcast, and we talk a lot about games, and there was a time period where I became more nitpicky because I noticed more things, almost a little bit, but then that quickly reverted back to I just appreciate a lot of small things more. So I tend to not focus on the negative things in gaming a lot of times now, and I just tend to focus on the positive things. And I don't, I don't ever. But then I open Twitter or Reddit or anything, and then I just get pissed off.
That's gone.
But I stopped doing that. I cleaned up my Reddit, and I don't open Twitter anymore. So I'm just happy in my bubble, playing games and shit.
What about you, Silver? More or less?
Neither, but probably if I had to choose, probably more toward the less.
Towards the less.
Yeah, mostly just for health issues.
Discomfort sometimes, maybe.
Discomfort. More trouble focusing, maintaining concentration for longer periods of time. So a lot of stuff like racing games where I used to really enjoy like 1 hour races or the like, that can get very difficult where I have to take breaks now. So that in that as a consequence, I kind of enjoy them less, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy them anymore to a significant degree, because I definitely do. It's just a testament to where my situation is at the moment.
Mine is like Abzi's. Here's what used to happen to me, man. I would get a game and wait for the hero moment, right? You're coming out and you see the world in front of you, the Todd Howard moments he always talks about, those big moments. And a lot of games had them. What I have found is not expecting those and just not expecting them. And for whatever reason in the last like 7 or 8 years, maybe it's because I review a lot of games, but after a while I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, like if it's good, then it doesn't need a hero moment. And if it's got one, that's even better. But if I don't wait for the hero moment, I've enjoyed a lot of games a lot more. The hero moment's me interacting with the game. It's me making, and I think games allow it more than they maybe did. In the past, you had to funnel to the hero moment. True. Yeah, now it's like some of these games do stuff where, for example, No Man's Sky, none of us would have the same planet. None of us would have the same hilltop, but a lot of us have stood on a hilltop and watched the planets go by in Starfield.
There's a lot more emergent
in No Man's Sky. Yeah. And that's been the great thing. And also, this is a big deal, and it happens. The reverse of rose-tinted glasses is just, shit-tinted glasses, where people only remember the bad stuff. And they start piling it on. You'll see it with reviewers, normal gamers, anybody who has a building experience continually. I remember the good old times. Or what about this company when they did this one thing 15 years ago? And what I've found is I just don't care. I mean, I do in the fact that we talk about it in a podcast, but I'm not going to let this game be impacted by something 15 years ago. And I hear it even in coverage where they can't get through the coverage for longer than 7 seconds without saying like, but remember when? It's like different company, different people. It's also why I don't expect BioWare to be the BioWare that they were. If we get a good game from them, great. But at the time, that was a sweetness. It was the Chicago Bulls of the Michael Jordan era. It's not the same anymore. So if you still like the Chicago Bulls, you better not be bringing Michael Jordan up all the time. You're going to sound like a fucking idiot. Like he's gone. You can, and that's the way I am with games. And it just feels like we have our own moments. Megaton was great, but I've had better times now on my own where something magical's happened that I created in a game, and I think games allow that in a
another
in a better way now. What
to that with like today's technology? Another aspect of my enjoyment from games is that a lot of stuff happening now in games is what me as a kid I would dream of in gaming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We talked about the Red Dead thing, about the animations, and like Elden Ring, going on a horse and fighting a dragon and shit. That's the type of stuff I was like, oh my god, imagine where games will go. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And now I'm like playing them, so that's like another thing to it.
And what's interesting, dude, is I don't know about you guys. There's been a couple times where I've been playing a game and been like, damn, this is better than my dream. No Man's Sky now is beyond what I thought as a kid when I was like, I want a space game that I can do this and that and this and that. No Man's Sky does, by the way, Starfield, for the most part, already does more, and it's launch version. And I'm just sitting there going, when I was a kid, I'm sure I didn't bring up that I would also be able to shoot or whatever, because I grew up in a time when the game engine only did racing. And then you played GTA that first
like
time, and you got out of the car, and you were like,
yeah. I was like, I can get in cars at free will. I can kill anyone.
Dude, it was I still remember like True Crime 2, which was like framing and stuff, but getting out of the car and fighting people and being like, are you kidding me right now? This is amazing.
And Driver,
I still get excited when I walk up to my big ass ship in Starfield, and it's giant, right? Like the magnitude of it. I can look at the different parts of it as I approach it. I enter it, I take off, I hear all the beep boops, you know, the interface and everything.
The technical term, by the way, everybody, beep boops.
Beep boops.
The beep boops, yeah.
That to me is definitely something I dreamed of, like having because in No Man's Sky, I mean, I loved it, man, but the ships were kind of small to me.
And you can't customize them at all. So it's
you can't customize them, and, you know, they're like the size of a person, more or less. You can't. You know, you couldn't move inside.
You can get the freighters now.
You can get the freighters, which was awesome, right? An awesome addition to the game. But to me, this, like, you know, you have your ship, you customize it and everything. Like, that's amazing, man.
It feels so good.
And the taking off animation, it just doesn't get old for me. I still do it like almost every time.
I think in a way, sometimes why I like Forza Horizon so much now, even though the idea was, I hated it. But Forza Horizon versus Forza career mode is because you can just sort of cruise, man. And yet you can still race. There's the extra, there's like merging of those genres together finally, merging the experience together. And you're just like, dude, this is, and I think it's an age thing too, because some people maybe got into gaming at a bad time too, where there were a lot of, it's like, I know people who are old enough that they remember and hate the Atari failure. And they're still bringing it up. And I'm like, dude, that's like bringing up like World War I. At some point, we got to move on with everything. Politics, everything. Like, you got to move on.
The ET trauma.
Yeah, the ET trauma, right? Yeah. Indiana Jones for me. Admittedly, I still remember that. But yeah, it depends also when you come in, and there's just a certain feel. I think it's why some people love retro gaming, because it brings them back to like that childhood part. But I got to tell you guys, some of these games in the last 15 years have made me feel like a child again, where I also am able to buy the game. So I don't have the structure of a child going to school. I can buy the game, I can imbibe it when I want, and I still get a childhood feeling when I play. That's fucking magic. Because I'm also able, like, to talk to you guys about it on a podcast and be like, dude, magic. And back in the day, I had to go to school. My mom and dad would be my dad would be like, let's, shuck some crab. And I'd be like, I want to talk about, Phantasy Star 1. And he'd be like, I don't know what that even is. He never called me stupid. He just had no frame of reference. And now we all have, admittedly, many of us have a pretty wide frame of reference. We were asked something. Wild Z says, ACG, do you think you guys, this is all of us, have a good balance since you engage in so much other stuff? For example, martial arts, working out, reading, and other things. If you just played games, would it be different? Yes.
Absolutely.
I think so. Yeah, right?
Would it be different? What would be
would
different
your
if you
if you just dived into games, I think that that there is a high chance, at least for me, the balance would be off. And
yeah, dude,
it would be
burnout.
It would burn out, or whatever the term, like nitpicky. Well, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, go ahead, Abzi.
Yeah, there was a period in my life where I was just playing games, and it's when you're in a constant supply of that dopamine, and you're just like playing games, and there's no hardships or struggle, or you're not doing anything else with your life. Games lose their.
And I don't know about you guys, Abzi, but if you are in that struggle, guess what? Your fucking nirvana is the game.
Yes.
And that's the juice
So
of
rewarding,
being
man.
like, yes, because you're at work. You're like, I got to finish this work, blah, blah, blah. Oh,
It's like,
but
oh my God, I get to go home and play
Yes.
video games.
Yes.
Oh,
And I got to tell
such
you,
a awesome feeling.
that's one of the reasons why, Cadiz and I were like, do you want to go to this event? Do you want to go to this one? I'm like, listen, man, if we go, talking to the developers is great because they're fired up. They're excited. But I got to choose who I talk to influencer side, because there's a tendency to just, not influencer side, discussion side, the coverage side can get really negative. And it's like, I don't want to bring that in too much. I'll talk to some people that I know and trust, like Delrith. He and I have different opinions on some games I like. He doesn't like some games he likes and I don't like. But I can, it's never over. He can just shut off. If he realizes, he sort of picks up on that, I'm not in the game right now. I'm not going to be talking to you about the bad stuff right now. He'll just be like, okay, let's move on and talk about the good stuff. If I was in that, man, dude, it'd be terrible. It'd be terrible. It's just, there's something about having that, I don't know, there's a magic about knowing you get to go play a game and you've worked for 8 hours or what have you, and you then it becomes more of a thing, more of a tangible, you worked for it.
That was the magic. Like when I was a kid, I knew, I would do school and it was like whatever, the full day, right? You're there at school and then you come home. The whole day I was thinking about that moment where I'd get home, I would get like my favorite snack or something and just sit down and play a game.
Oh, dude,
that was magic, especially because school wasn't the greatest time for me. I was kind of a late bloomer in life, and school wasn't it for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I wasn't having a good time there, but that was my outlet. The sweet that contrasted the bitter in a way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think the sweet is made sweeter by the bitter. It's that contrast that gives you the gratitude, the appreciation.
Yeah.
Because you sort of take it for granted if you have it all the time, right? If you're just.
I also think that there's something, one of the reasons like why we all talk is because there's also something about, if that gratitude isn't met, I personally believe that when I review games, having the gratitude not met is a cleaner way for me to describe what I don't like about a game versus the cynicalness of, told you so. Told you so. It's almost like this self-aggrandizing, told you so, I knew this was going to happen. And while we joke about that and say it, it's definitely in reviews I don't do it because I'm like, okay, this is a game. I buy it for $50. What am I getting? There's a gratitude when it's good and then a lack of that enjoyment or whatever when it's bad. And you can say, why did this not hit? And it's really easy in any job, by the way. I think anything that somebody does. Musicians. I've talked to musicians who are like, dude, I just don't want to go down and play guitar with anybody right now. I'm doing it too much. I need to go for a walk. And it lets your brain just sort of go, oh, yeah, there's something else than this 27-inch screen piping in bad dreams. Like Abzi said, when you open Twitter, it's like a focus HDR version of brightness bullshit that you get that pops up and it's just flashing badness.
Overexposure.
Even the good parts are bad. It's just, it's just flashing. That's why I tell everybody, it's like, if you want to use it, great, but you have to be healthy about using it. You have to. But
I think I think I just put my finger on something that spoke to me about your reviews early on, not to toot your horn, but it doesn't feel like you phone it in. Like I think you always come into it with that childlike excitement of like you just got home, from whatever, and you're like, dude, I'm gonna play a game. Even if the game turns out to be shit, you did have that initial, excitement to kind of get in there and see what the game has to offer. And I've never seen you phone it in, even if it was a shit game. Like, I mean, you've covered a few that were stinkers. and you come out of it.
Do you know why, dude? Because when I'm talking about a game that's a stinker, I usually am thinking about the next game. So I'm like, okay, this is a stinker. This didn't work. But what's tomorrow? Alan Wake. Look what happened. We just saw Starfield release, guys. How long have we been talking about Starfield, man? Forever. And you get Cyberpunk, you get Starfield, and then there's I joked a couple days ago, I said we should just call everything post CP 2077 as our date instead of AD.
Yeah.
And all, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the way
true,
it feels in
true.
gaming. But at the same time, we're now talking about Alan Wake. It's so crazy because I even talked to, you guys have seen, but talked to Andy. He's been on the podcast, and I was like, it's weird that Starfield's out. It feels weird because my brain has to look at other things even more. I was always doing it, but it's like, it's post Starfield. It's post Cyberpunk. Will be post Alan Wake. Will be post Spider-Man 2.
Stalker 2.
Guess what
Oh my
happens the
God.
moment
Mountain Blade Bannerlord
Mountain
actually
Blade
came out.
Mountain finally. But here's the great thing
True.
for me. The moment Spider-Man 2 comes out to audiences, review's done, right? It comes out the millisecond it comes out, my brain is instantly going to go to Wolverine. Instantly. It'll be like Wolverine's the next thing. And
Yeah.
and to me, that's the excitement of like, yeah, man, dude, we're gonna, and yeah, game may, there's been some sucky games, but there's a lot of other ones you can bounce to. It's why even just not reviewing it, when you jump into some of these titles, I'll have somebody say, this game's not very good, but I had this really cool moment. And there's something that you can sort of cherish from, the bad time.
Yeah.
There's something you can hold on to and go like, some games, let's be honest, if it's an asset flip, I don't mean that. But I mean, even a bad game, even Gene Rain, there's something. Rogerio is from Battle from the Sun, a terrible game, and he's a fan. So I gained a patron and a fan and somebody I joke with. To me, well worth the 25 hours of bullshit I had to slog through in that game. Well, maybe not well worth it.
And I love
Close.
that just excitement about what's next. You know, it's kind of rare, man. Like I see a lot of people either stuck in games of the past that I loved. They're like, oh, I love Diablo. Why would I play a new Diablo?
God, yeah, Final Fantasy VII, the original.
I
and
played,
you're like, dude,
I
it's
played
been
one of
25
them.
years.
I played DS1. Why would I, play Lies of P or any new game of the type? Get out of here, right? Try new shit. Get excited about stuff. This is why I gravitate to, towards you guys, because you tend to be excited about games that are coming out. What are new things people are trying out? Even if they fail, let's have a crack.
Little Baby, I got to watch Little Baby Itsy Bitsy cooing in his little crib absy prior to Cyberpunk. Little Itsy Bitsy, no beard, no facial hair, just like coo, just talking about
do you
his.
remember how
I do remember. I will always remember.
Beyond hype.
And
I was like, this is gonna be the immersive sim RPG I've always wanted.
I just remember that like the innocence, the new baby smell of Absy prior to Cyberpunk, and
then denying all the claims for the work and IGN.
But what was funny, I admit, you rebounded better than almost anybody I know who was that positive prior. You rebounded quite well. I don't know why.
You know why? Because it made me appreciate a lot of the little things in other games. That was my turning point, where I think I played Red Dead right after it, and I was like, damn, I could sit on a chair and like look at how like all this attention to detail and stuff. So that Cyberpunk launch actually made me appreciate a lot of smaller things that I had taken for granted. For sure.
Yeah, and it's great times too. And I got to give you kudos. I do distinctly, either in a private chat or in open Discord, remember those exact words. I remember you saying, "Wow, do I now appreciate some things that you take for granted or assume, and when they don't happen, now that they're happening in blah blah blah." You absolutely brought that up. Go ahead, Silver. Sorry.
Just it's funny you mentioned that, because like, as well as your issue with the use of formal Arabic in Mirage, because I had sort of a similar epiphany with Starfield, where I realized how important language and the use of language actually is in terms of like conveying a sense of world and immersing me in a game world. Because for me, Starfield completely failed in that regard. Like I could go to like a farmstead in like the very outer reaches of space, and they would still talk in the same way that they did. They did on the main planet, like New Atlantis or whatever it's called, right? Like there would be no dialect. Like whereas if I go like 3 hours outside of my own city, I can't understand what people are saying in my own language.
I was wondering that.
But if I go to like the other outer reaches of space, like there's no like people in Aquila City talk like they do in New Atlantis. Like there's no that really hurt the sense of world to me in that, and then really sort of made me realize and reflect on how important language can be in building like the believability of it.
Absolutely.
No, I agree with you. That was something in my head actually while playing, when I was like, okay, so 200 or 300, how many years have passed? Like 200, 300 years?
200 some odd years, yeah.
200 something. And I was like, wouldn't they kind of homogenize and develop their own accent? Because in New Atlantis, you can meet someone with like an Indian accent with like all these accents from different countries. And I'm very interested to see how it would play out in real life, like how homogenized those accents would be depending on the mixture of people and locations.
Well, America ain't too old, and I can tell you, you get East Coast, West Coast, and South getting together, and it's pretty weird.
Yeah,
it's pretty different. It's it's noticeable, and so I do see that.
I mean, Bayou Cajun.
Exactly, dude. It's like when they talk, and I'm sorry, I need a translator. That's not English, right?
Like hard French Canadian in Canada. Like
right.
That's yeah.
I think that's what's great, though, is we're coming to grips with this, which is awesome. Do you know why this isn't an issue back in the day? There weren't even spoken voices in a lot of the games. And so now as we're starting to see, we're going to start looking at that, which not every game needs to do it. Just like when you say, oh, every game now needs to be like Baldur's Gate. Bull and shit, it does. Like that would be horrendous for the future. But the idea that we pay attention to them now is awesome, because I personally, as somebody who likes good music or good voice, I like more people paying attention, so that the devs look at it and say, oh, for the next world, we will have this group of people like talking differently. Maybe the story is that they're separated. In Starfield, if they were separated, they would still talk the same. But in a future game, maybe they do have this old English dialect or something. You're like, what the hell? Why are they talking like that?
Yeah, like talking like Amish people.
Yeah, dude, it'd be amazing. If you have an Amish settlement and they've got like really slow space cruisers and like a horse. Go ahead, Absy.
Dude, this was always like this specific sci-fi thing. Like in reality, making sci-fi fiction has always been a nagging question I've had. Like watching Stargate SG-1 and seeing them going to all these different planets, and they just all speak English.
All
different
bipedal
kinds of societies, futuristic or
all breathable atmospheres,
all breathable,
all looking like fucking British Columbia. It's just the English.
No, that's for sure. You can tell where it was filmed all the time.
But but like the language thing, I just never know how they explain it away. I think in Stargate they just never. They never explained it.
Slightly correct, but I will point out that one of the scientists, one time, an NPC, not even a main scientist, pointed out that for the most part, the SG-1 program purposely only went, of course, to oxygen-breathing planets to be safe.
And
it only paid off. Though. Yeah, but the language thing, they have the translators, or just like Star Trek, they're like a universal translator. It's like that does not work.
Very convenient narrative.
I could make a language right now based on rocks and strata, and how would that work? It would never be able to work. So
I mean, how would it translate sense of humor or a joke? And
how would they make a story?
All that stuff.
Right.
Also makes up language.
Bradley says a good question. He says he's caught up. He was behind. He says, when we talk about residuals, why is it that a lot of people don't talk about voice and music, or talk about voice and music, but not the devs? So, I think we did, just in a slightly different way. There's the job and then the gig. And
the contract and
the contract and salary, and so they're different style, and that's okay. Everybody can have different styles, but we have I have gig developers who work for me at time.
Right?
Like
we don't talk about all the cameramen and the audio people and the movies and stuff.
Where, by the way, some dev companies I do know of do bonuses too, but unfortunately, as we found out, some of them do it based on Metacritic, and I gotta tell you. It blows me away knowing Metacritic's weighted that any company would be able to write the contract without a other company or the developers going, well, that is actually factually wrong.
That's rough.
That numbers
are dumb, dude.
Well, we are. And we're a small segment.
Not you, man. Not you. Okay. All the other reviewers are dumb.
No.
Okay.
I do believe that. Gamers, every human is dumb. You can't interact ever at the level the developer's making. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you can say it's dumb. You can also just say ignorant of what's going on. But by the way, this segues into a perfect discussion. I don't know if you guys saw this. People were bitching about Resident Evil having yellow ladders, big splashes of yellow. And the developer said, you would not believe how many people can't figure out how to climb if that thing is not yellow.
Because
if that wasn't there.
Focus tests.
Yes.
And we saw it, by the way, in that Tomb Raider game.
Yes,
where
we
you
did.
could remove it.
Yep, you could remove it. And it took me, and I love that.
Dude,
it took me a while to go, can I jump? I died a lot. Where I was
I
like,
loved it too. I've played a lot of games, and my gameplay was like a death compilation of Lara making death sounds.
Yeah, right.
Because
Death porn.
I couldn't find. Yeah, sometimes I just couldn't find, where to climb.
It's
Which
2
is
hours,
great.
30 minutes. I'm continuing, but if you guys have to go, I know Silver was in a little pain, but if not, I do want to continue that part of the discussion and say that what gamers think, what I think, it is backed up by testing. I mean, the people playing a game, they don't know what you're trying to do. And if you'd have to run a ton of tutorials to say, okay, ladders are, and by the way, I've played a game. I don't want to mention the game. It's out, but there was a game that had broken ladders. I tried to climb them for quite a while because the bottom was slightly missing and your character couldn't use it. It was to indicate it was broken. And I didn't see that. And I was like, what is going on? I didn't review the game, by the way, but if I had, I would have had to have, no. No,
okay.
is there broken ladders in Liza P where some...
Well, not broken, where you have to go around and like kick it down.
Kick them down. God, come on with that shit,
You
man.
did the eye roll, dude. I knew you were going to do
hate that. Because I always want to know, why did the person roll it up in the first fucking place? Like, who's going around these games rolling up the ladders? I don't even fold my underwear.
Who is locking? Yeah,
who's the dude? I want to
Who's
hire
barring all these doors in Mirage,
barring
dude?
all the doors in Mirage, and all the doors are closed. You can't get in, and you're like, but they can't get out either unless they unbar. Yeah. Go ahead, Silver. You were going to say something. Sorry.
Just no, I lost my train of thought. So
I apologize. That was on us. We continued that. Let me read some of the Friday podcast Discord peeps. These are people who are in our Discord. Best place ever, who asks us questions. Ronan PT, thoughts about a new Commandos game being announced. Yeah, did you guys see that? That was awesome.
Yeah, I look, I was a big fan of Commandos back in the day, but
the new ones have not embraced your love, huh?
No, they have, but it's not really. I mean, it's not Pyro Studios. It's just the license for whatever that's going to be worth, I guess. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. But I mean, it's not Commandos the way I Yeah, like it's not Pyro Studios that made Commandos back in the day making it. I think it's a subdivision of like Calypso who's making it. So, but I'm intrigued to see what they do with the license. But
Me too, man.
Can they hire everybody at Minmay Games or what Minmay Games who got fired? Like that would be awesome. The guys who did Shadow Gambit and Shadow Tactics and Desperados.
I mean that would seem like a natural sort
of. It would seem a natural progression, right?
Transition for them.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
I told because it was a game me and my dad used to play all the Commandos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I told them that they're making a new one. Not them, but and he got excited a little bit. I'm excited, man. I loved Commandos.
Yeah,
I hope
excited.
They retain that same kind of feel. I don't know how to
right.
explain it.
Like I'm excited for the idea, but I want to see it because I had to play Mass Effect Andromeda, and so now I know.
Oh no.
Flunex says Google Keynote 2023. I really like the Pixel phones that Google makes. The new ones with a bunch of AI stuff look awesome. Any of you seen it? Have any of you guys seen the new Pixel stuff? I have not either.
No.
I got to admit though, I'm happy with my Pixel phone. I've got an ancient one, and it's still better than 99%. Like it's a nice. It got great pictures. Just a really overall nice phone. I don't take calls on it, so I'm talking about anything besides a cell phone part of it. I really like. Putty Man, would you like to see more games utilize first and third person like Starfield? So I don't know if you guys saw this. Cyberpunk. They haven't decided if they're going to do third person for Cyberpunk 2 yet. Does the inclusion matter to you?
Inclusion of
third person in a game like Cyberpunk 2. So they're getting ready to go ahead.
Sorry, but like I think that game deserves to stay as first person. Like it delivers a lot of scenes. The way they did it is just so fucking cool. I like first person in general, so I might be biased, but like that the stuff they do with Jolly with all these like curated scenes and cool shit happens. I think it's just best experience in first person. They can give an option, but I feel like it's not that type of game unless they completely change it. I just feel like it works best first person for sure.
Okay.
Maybe think of new ways to implement like seeing your character because you maybe because you like dress them up and all that stuff.
I think,
but yeah, other than that.
What I would like actually is for them to take like a Half-Life approach with the first person, where you actually give the player freedom. They do this in some places in Cyberpunk, but you actually give the player freedom to like look around during cutscenes.
Yeah,
don't they do that in conversations or no?
I think in convos they do. I think
they do sometimes, but in like specific cutscenes you are locked.
Okay.
When you like enter like an area and you have like V like scanning automatically the area or
yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, Johnny, what about you?
Another game. Oh, sorry. Yeah, just another game that also did it that I loved that it stayed in first person and delivered every single thing in first person is Metro. Like all the Metro games and Metro Exodus, and I like the feeling. It's just way more immersive for me of just experiencing everything from like the eyes, right? And if they go ahead and increase like the immersive elements of Cyberpunk, that would be amazing,
especially because Cyberpunk does the like first person actor thing where you actually have like a body and you can actually see like your clothes. Not only your feet but also like the specific clothes you're wearing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Johnny, what about you?
So first off, to me, it's really important if you're doing first person, I want to be able to see my body. If I, like you guys were saying, like Cyberpunk, you can kind of look and see yourself in the world in some way. I would love for them to make it easy for you to kind of see like maybe a 360 of how you look in the scene or something, because I do like to change clothes and stuff. And I felt like since there are, to begin with, no reflections at all, so I can't see myself in the world ever, I have no idea how I look. So I would like to see that, but I'm actually kind of the
photo mode. Sorry to do that intermittently if you want.
Yeah, I don't know if when I played they had the photo mode. Maybe they did, and I just didn't use it. Yeah. So yeah, maybe that could, if it's easy enough to access it, that could be a solution. But I'm actually almost the opposite from Abzi. I like having the two modes. The problem, I think, is that it's hard to do in a way that's convincing, or like both modes are good. What we often see is it's made for one mode and the other one is an afterthought, right?
It is definitely difficult to do, I think, because they have to tailor the experience to both viewpoints.
Right, but let's think of some cases like, dude, Red Dead had an amazing first person.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yes,
Grand Theft Auto.
Red Dead and GTA. Yeah. Went from
like if you do it like that, I'm 100%. For me, that almost adds a reason to replay the game. I actually replayed Red Dead just for the first person, or Red Dead 2.
That's interesting. Like the way Red Dead works and GTA, I just don't enjoy them in first. Like I love first person. I would take the first person option in any game. But with Red Dead and stuff, I just feel I think because
it felt like a different game, because even like some of the animations were shortcutted and stuff.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff is different. Yeah.
So Starfield's the big one for me. Starfield feels 10 times better in first person mode to me than third.
I agree.
I've some Bethesda games I've played a little bit in third, but I've never really liked them. Skyrim maybe a little bit more, but Starfield felt much better in first. I think I like first as a whole better. But I like first-person immersive. I'm just going to call it that.
Right.
Yeah. I think it was Rage 2 that sold you skins for your character that you couldn't even see because they never show the third-person view. And you're like, what the hell? I just bought that for no reason. I mean, most micros are no reason, but I want first-person immersive. Look down, see my feet, see a reflection, even if it's a baked one. I'm not, one of those guys. It's like the ray tracing is technically global.
You also have the like half and half of a game like Deus Ex Human Revolution, right?
I don't remember what the half and half part of that one is.
It's where you're ordinarily in first person, but whenever you take cover and stuff, you go into.
That was in Rainbow Six Vegas as well.
Because that is true, right? Yeah. Third or first person in cover is very difficult to get right. it can feel really wonky when it looks like you're just clipping through something. They need to make it really feel right. And some games, by the way, I don't mean all games. Some games have done that incredibly well. But
yeah, I think Red Dead actually managed it pretty well in Red Dead 2.
So reading here with what I asked this question, and but they said, but I want the vehicles to default to third person, both. I prefer first in a shooter for Cyberpunk first, both. Okay, so I think the majority is both. Yeah. Bradley says Starfield feels better in first. I do like seeing my suits though. Yeah.
It's like in Starfield sometimes zooming out and just seeing how it looked like for a bit and then going back into first person. Yeah.
I do that, but I gotta tell you, man, Bethesda games moving around in third person looks jank as hell. There's something about the way the model moves in the world where you're like.
Yeah, they've got a bad spine is what it is.
But it's weird because like in first person, when you turn or when you start moving, it happens instantly. You know what I mean? You're turning, you're moving instantly. But if you go back to third, you have,
it's like they want to play the animation like a little bit.
Playing catch up.
They're playing like
Even Evan Choi says $2 super chat. Thank you very much as always for the super chats. Choose one for the rest of my life, multiplayer or single. Oh, choose one for the rest of your life.
Single player. Easily. That's such an easy.
That's not even. It's not so even. It took me a second to even understand the question because.
I think we're all kind of single player.
If you had to choose, it would be single player.
100% of the time.
Yeah, dude, like it would. I mean, sorry, I can invite my friends over and use an HDMI splitter if I want. We can both be on the same screen. Single player is just the juice.
Because I mean, we all have really fun times, even just playing together, all of us, but also with different people. But it doesn't push the same buttons to me as like.
No, and I was watching you play Liza Pi multiple times in the stream just a couple days ago, and I was like, dude, it was like you were playing it, and I was just like, why are you laughing? Did I say it wrong?
Liza Pi, no, it's just funny.
Oh, Liza P.
Funny.
Sorry,
Liza P.
That was not on purpose. Liza
Sounds
P.
a lot like Life of Pi. Yeah.
It does. I think I
Life
just
of
graduated
Pi,
that.
right.
Life of Pi. But no, dude, it was awesome to watch you play. Multiplayer is just not even. It couldn't even. I will say MMOs. I'm putting into the multiplayer scheme, and I think I like some MMOs a ton. So giving up multiplayer would include MMOs, and that would hurt a little bit because some MMOs are a huge deal in my life, or were. So that would suck to be without them. But
also, if you're multiplayer exclusive, you're entirely dependent on other people to be able to play at all.
Yeah. Did you guys see Final Fantasy added the multiplayer, or Final Fantasy MMO added the ability now to bring bots into all dungeons? You can play the entire game alone.
Because they've been pushing like single player experience. Because dude, it's an awesome story. I think it's my favorite Final Fantasy story. And for people who don't like MMOs, like that's great for them to just go in and play it like a single player game.
Yeah. Is that's a brand new patch, right? That's like
they've been slowly doing that over time.
They've been around for a while. I did test them, and did they change that?
They just added more. Like now you can do like the whole experience.
Yeah, everything. Do the whole every single bit.
Yeah, because I think it was only in the recent expansion where you had it available. That's where I tested it, and it had some issues. Let's be honest. So it's not slower. A seamless. That, and then also there's a big difference because if you're in a party of people and you die, the party can continue to do the thing and revive you.
Yeah.
If you die with the bots, you go back to, and sometimes the checkpoints are so bad that you have to retrace your steps from the beginning of the dungeon.
Yeah.
So
it's like a single player game,
right? Yeah, they can fix that. But at the time of testing, it wasn't the greatest. But it's a great. I don't
know. I played a lot of MMOs where somebody didn't resurrect me.
That also happens,
right?
But
also,
I gotta tell you,
dumbasses.
There are dumbasses like me who goes in and shoots silver in the ass.
Or they do the other thing and they walk over to you and then they start teabagging you.
Yeah.
No, but I gotta tell you, with that, Final Fantasy is really good. Where the community is really like
Oh, the community in a lot
Okay.
of games are really good. I'm just saying there's dumbasses that will screw it up regardless. Like,
Oh yeah, but at
Or
least
the
people
games where if
won't
you-
do stuff on bad faith or on purpose, like Silver was saying, just to like troll you or
I bet you
teabag
$1 billion there are people in Final
There
Fantasy
are
still
no,
doing it.
and what's funny in Final Fantasy though,
Come on,
it's not
Johnny.
the worst.
I'm
look,
just telling
the
you, I haven't really
toxicity-
come across it, but I'm sure it exists.
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
love
I
like
got
the
you.
community there is largely way better than other multiplayer.
Yeah.
games,
It's just like
but
Grounded.
dude-
You hear it about
but
Grounded.
dude-
You
but
hear it
dude-
about Thief. What is it? The ocean bearing, the ocean one.
Yeah,
Sea of
yeah.
Thieves.
Sea of
But like
Thieves.
the issue I have the most, especially when you get to like higher kind of rating and stuff, is that since in the TOS you can't like directly make fun of people or directly be toxic, people have this like passive aggressive
Oh,
shit
of
where
course.
it's like, oh well, you didn't do this. Look
Well,
at me. or some
I don't know
shit,
if you
and I
guys saw,
hate it.
there was a multiplayer guy who was streaming who got banned for saying
Yeah.
good game. Did you see that a couple months ago? Because
GG.
good game had turned into somehow a negative.
Yeah,
And they were like,
yeah.
good game.
Depending on the context.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because
I
like,
mean,
because like
if
in
you're
a
playing
league
basketball
game-
with your friend, good job. Even though they missed,
Yup.
like that can be
Yup.
toxic if
y-
that's all you're doing.
you'd go in a league game and then one dude like dies in the beginning or like 2 minutes in and he's like, "Yep, GG, we're done."
There's some, or go in and
Yeah,
quit.
yeah.
GG, everybody. And you're like, dude, that's pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, the computer can't figure that out.
The classic noob trolling I've seen is the how do I do this? Oh, you press Alt F4.
Oh yeah, dude, that happened a lot in the old forums. Alt F4.
Dude,
Yeah.
apparently in Dota 2, and I heard this, Johnny, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in pro level Dota 2, apparently to diss someone in a pro match is to like there's like a system where you can pay money to gift him something, Johnny, right? Or you can like pay money to like give him a thumbs up or some shit, and they do that in a pro match, and apparently that's like a
that's
that's
diss.
like you're paying
It's
money to
a BM,
diss
a bad
a
manner.
PM.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Before we wrap this up, I do want to point out Johnny just said something which bothers me to no end right now. World being as huge as it is and all these games existing, I've walked into situations where I find out something is bad manners where I'm like, what? That's good manner. What are you talking about?
Like the etiquette is
The
different.
etiquette
for
is
a game.
different. Slang has changed or what have you. Good game is now, and you're just like, it is and then you get people mad, like you should have known, like somehow
You should have known.
intrinsically in your DNA,
Yeah.
you should have known what we in the secret pocketed small group of people already knew for years. And
Yeah.
that does happen too, where there's the toxicity has been not replaced, but we've always had the know-it-alls. But then in games, you get, the scholars who are like, well, technically you need this armor, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude, that's just as toxic as anything else. You're just being a jackass. It's like, you get it. You get it. No, I've noticed it a lot in some of the MMO games that I've played, or even
Yeah,
when I review a game, you'll get into some groups and I'll just read their text, the text chat. And I'm like, you guys are just assholes.
I mean, I was when I played MMO, it was most extensively on like role-playing servers. And there was certainly on those servers a very vocal contingent of people who were very, very snobbish about
Oh yeah.
what people should do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shouldn't-
I did a
do.
couple role playing.
And what
Minus
was-
1 RP. Minus 1 RP.
What reflected roleplay or not? Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Were you in character, out of character?
You know what? It's the same thing about getting a bad DM in a role playing game. You just got to move on. If somebody's being a jackass trying to kill you, whatever, it's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I just ain't coming back.
Dude, I don't know, but I don't know why, but I just prefer someone be direct and tell me like "fuck you, you piece of shit," rather than like be like passive aggressive. Passive aggression just irks me.
Or the
dude.
fake friendly
It ain't
and
happening.
passive aggressive. Yeah, I get what you mean. Exactly.
It ain't happening. I've
Yeah,
had people.
That's Scandinavian heartblood. Fake friendly and passive
fake
aggression.
friendly, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate
Come on
it.
in. You're like, you're a jackass. Dude, that kind of thing as a boisterous person, I've dealt with it every day of my life, every day,
Mm.
where you have a good friend who luckily will be like, blah, blah, blah. But then somebody else, they just won't tell you. And you're like, listen, man, you can't sit here and pretend you're accepting of everybody if you're not accepting that some people aren't going to get your shrug as meaning a bad thing. And it's happened to me, even not necessarily recently, but even since I started, where it's just like, oh, is this go? Yeah, oh, everything's fine. Then you find out it's not fine. You're like, listen, man.
Yeah.
Like my filter is almost 0, which makes it worse sometimes for incoming stuff, because I'm just like, well, if I would tell you, yeah, dude, this is not working out. You need to fix this. Okay, great. No worries. And everybody's so worried about pissing somebody else off that they piss them off by being so worried they're pissing somebody off. And and that, by the way, can become disastrous, where you're just like, what the hell? And I used to joke about my resting,
self-sabotaging,
hate face, where when I listen to somebody, I'm like, and a lot of people are like, dude, he hates him. They're like, I don't hate him at all. I'm actually listening to what the fuck he's saying, man. Like I just happen to squint and look like I want to kill you. Whatever. But people, you have to take the time to get to know somebody, and a lot of people pretend they do. And I do not like that. It's really, it in any walk of life, not even games. You have it in real life. Or my family will do stuff, and I'll be like, listen, that person's never going to learn. They're never going to learn, because every Thanksgiving isn't just about Thanksgiving. Sometimes it's about sitting somebody down and being like, dude, seriously? You're 40. You're still doing this? Like,
intervention.
Yeah, might want to fix some shit, dude, or you're going to be living at home for the rest of your life. Yeah, that's humans. That's humans, but it does suck at times when that happens. As we wrap this up,
I just
go for it.
I just remembered one of my favorite like trolling examples from a game called Hold Fast Nations at War, which is basically a Napoleonic multiplayer combat game, adversarial combat game. But like there's a contingent of players in that game who are very sort of they do sort of almost live reenactments, I guess you could say, of like Napoleonic battles and stuff, and they're very serious. And then there's a contingent of players who like run in, and they're just because there's like environmental or like proximity voice chat in the game. And so you have some players who just run in, and they're basically blasting like 80s music, like "Take on Me." While these guys are like,
that's what they're trying
setting up.
Yeah, dude, that's it's funny,
like a line battle, very seriously.
I love that.
Yeah, where they're like,
and then you just get
Take on 7 years ago, take
the duality of man,
and you're like, come on, man. You know, Rick rolling somebody.
It's just really funny.
I think there was one thing I wanted to say about all this prior to wrapping up. Oh man, I can't remember what it was. We were talking about. Oh shoot.
MMO, single player, multiplayer.
Oh damn. No, I can't remember. Can't remember. That's good though, because that just means there's more. Well, there's a lot of stuff to lose.
Toxicity. GG.
Oh, I do want to thank everybody for the kind words. We did get the dogs back. I just want to make sure that my tweet wasn't misrepresented. Somebody tried to steal the dogs. They cut through the fence. The dogs got out. But the dogs are idiots and won't even come to me. So they didn't come to them and ran back into the fence in the other side. And I spent an hour looking for them, and they were actually at the front door wondering why I was calling their names a bunch. But yeah, somebody cut through our back fence and tried to steal the dogs. I noticed a couple days ago there were some fence cuts, and my wife is, God bless her, that's how she's married to me. But she's like, it's probably nothing. And I'm like, I'm the bunker mentality where I'm like, we're putting a howitzer there. Anybody gets near there, I'm just going to assume it's bad. Yeah. And so I saw these cuts, and I put some more twisty ties around the spot, and I was like, I'm going to watch that. And the next day I went out, dogs were gone. And so I could hear kids trying to lure them off. And they were like, come here. And the dogs were like having none of it. Luckily, my dogs are idiots, and it worked out. But yeah, we did get the dogs back right away. It's just one of the things. People try to steal dogs all the time. Like, I don't know if you guys seen the videos, but like if a homeless person has a dog, you'll see people trying to steal their dog.
Oh man, those are the worst.
Nothing, by the way, more rage-inducing. And somebody was like, what would you have done? And I would have nuked the city. I would have been like, sorry, dogs, you may not make it through, but I'm going to make sure that everybody pays. Like, I would have been beyond. We wouldn't be doing the podcast right now if they were still missing. But yeah, we got them back. Or they came back. But I definitely do appreciate it. Yeah, some people are just shits, right? Like, that's why when we talk about games, I never get flustered, because I'm like, dude, real life, somebody tried to steal my dogs. Do you think I give a fuck if, like, the Sims exact animation isn't perfect? Come on, guys.
You gave me, dude. I'm just remembering a video I watched of like the homeless guy just.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
I think it was a girl that just came in and
it took him. I think it was a group trying to pretend like they weren't being taken care of, and they were like luring the guy one way and stole the dog. Luckily, that dog got back to the person, by the way. But I'm telling you right now, most places I know, a dog is considered a part of that group. personally, I'm just saying, I don't think I'd want to mess with a bunch of people who might have syringes as ninja stars. Like, probably not the best bet. Because
Right.
I'm telling you, if I was there and somebody tried to steal my dog,
Yeah.
like I would beat that
They're
person to
dying.
death. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
I'd be like, that's a family
question.
member. You're in deep shit.
Yeah.
And by the way, you could say
Yeah.
the same of a cat, a parrot, whatever somebody is really attached to. But
Yeah.
do we have anything before we wrap this up?
I just wanted to quickly mention. So this game that I tried, Beneath the Orsea.
Beneath the Orsea.
So this is the deck building game that I mentioned earlier. It's a really cool game, actually. So if people like Slay the Spire and this type of stuff, it's really well done. But what it does that I like, better than Slay, is that you have animations to your attacks. So when you play a card, your character is doing stuff. So you're running, you're punching, you're grabbing. It's doing all this stuff that matches what the card shows.
Is showing, right?
Kind of like what am I missing? I'm missing the name. Sorry, the game you
Suns,
reviewed,
Lamplighters.
Midnight Suns.
Yeah,
Thank
Midnight
you.
Suns.
Midnight
I figured
Suns.
that's the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Tainted
Yeah,
Grail
so-
as well, kind of, right? No?
Yeah, Tainted Grail did it a bit too, but I feel like they kind of nailed it more here, and they have a cell shaded look to stuff, so it's
How do you spell
easier.
Orsea?
I'm gonna put it in chat.
Oh, okay, I see it. Wait, no, I don't see it.
Orsea. So I just put it in chat if people want to take a look. It's highly worth checking out because you have several characters you can play as. Each character has its own mojo, right? Its own system and everything. There's one that's like based on shooting, that's super cool. And you have this idea of zones in the combat. So you can move in and out of different zones. And the way the characters move is awesome. And once you get into the
You're fine.
flow
fuck
of
down.
things,
You're fine.
and you know the cards well enough that you can play like pretty quick, right? There's a flow to it because your character is kind of always moving,
This
so
looks
you're not
cool,
just
man.
always stopping. Yeah,
It's like comic book style.
Steam.
I think it looks very cool,
Steam.
and I really like the cards. Sorry,
Steam.
Steam. Yeah, Steam.
How much is it? 15, 25.
It's around that. I'll
For
double
me, it's
check.
$20.
20 bucks, not bad.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's full release. It's not early access
There we
or
go.
anything.
There we
So,
go.
Yeah.
So it's actually a game versus a
Actually
demo.
a video game. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. That was it for your thing.
Yeah.
Oh, $25 super chat. Michael Tennant. Thanks, Karak and crew. Thank you very much. Also, everybody who's listening, watching, tweet that we did this. If you get a chance, spread the word. And we're always going to be back on Wednesdays as well. From me, you're going to see reviews for Spider-Man. And maybe one other, depends on the timing. And from Johnny, tomorrow he will be streaming what?
That's a great question. Probably Starfield. I'm focusing on finishing now. So probably Starfield tomorrow, 2 p.m. UK time. That's 9 a.m. EST.
9
Well, is
9
it
a.m.
EST? You guys don't do summertime
KST,
anymore.
Karak Standard Time.
Oh,
9
character-
EST is
EST.
But then
yeah.
that's a difference. So I think your time is
6.
6 a.m.
6 a.m.
Yeah.
That's pretty early.
Right in the
Crack
middle
of
of my
dawn.
workout. Let me
Crack of
verify
dawn.
we got all the questions. Give me 1 second. We were asked this. What's the workout schedule we do? We were asked that on Wednesday, right, Absy? We answered that one.
Yeah, we
Okay, let
we
me
answered
check.
that one.
Reddit real quick. Want to make sure I'm getting everybody. That one's done. Oh, wait. Assassin's Creed
And we're back on
Mirage.
Wednesday.
People are responding. Playing this now, it's great. Awesome review once again. Well, thanks for the awesome review, but I like that you think it's great. I got to point out, it is crazy. I'm seeing a lot of people liking Mirage. So that's awesome. Even if I hated it, which I certainly don't, I just think it's so cool to see so many games, man. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
something magical about right now.
I like seeing enjoyment in general, man.
Yeah,
But
so do I. Even if I
every game.
tease people in Discord, like you guys, when you're talking
Yeah.
about Death Stranding, I'm still a little. You're jealous in a weird way. You're almost. You're like, how did
I
they
love
see something that
teasing you
I
about
didn't
it
see?
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not stupid. I know you're teasing me about it.
yeah.
I just hold it against you in all ways, shapes, or form.
I know.
I don't hold anything against almost anybody. Is that it? I'm looking around, verifying that I've taken that.
Is that all the questions? We didn't have any.
Yeah, let me check Twitter. Sorry, let me check Twitter. Yeah, but I figure if we can do around 3 hours, we will have cut it by a good amount, so we can make sure that we're not always going long. Taylor's talking about the dogs.
Oh, I did have a question for you guys.
Yeah, go for it. Silver, if you need to drop, you can. I don't know how much pain you're in. Okay, great.
Yeah, this is a quick one, more of a curiosity, because I love eggs.
Wow,
what do you
this
guys,
is going somewhere.
It's pretty random. But like, how do you guys eat eggs? Because, you know, there's so many ways, right? Like, you can scramble it, boil them. What's your go-to?
Can it be different for how we eat them versus how we would love to?
Sure.
Deviled eggs is what I would love to eat for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never eat deviled eggs. I eat them boiled.
I would love to eat eggs Benedict all the time with smoked salmon. I'm sorry, but you don't like with smoked salmon and so.
Oh, you don't like salmon? Salmon?
He doesn't like fish. He doesn't like. But with hollandaise,
hollandaise sauce or hollandaise, yeah.
If I'm eating it alone, I like to do scrambled, but in a way where it's like moist. So like,
the best scrambled eggs are where they're
amazing.
almost
not dry, not
rubber. Almost
gooey.
Gooey.
Yeah.
So
but if I eat it in a tuna salad, sorry, Kai. If I eat it I like it hard boiled. But not to the point where the yolk is hard. I like it
soft, hard,
kind of like
soft.
Yeah, not gooey, like liquidy. Yeah.
What about you, Silver? Do you eat eggs?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy them both scrambled and fried, but I think maybe the favorite is like, if it's really fancy, it's an omelet, like nice fluffy with mozzarella cheese, tomatoes, and some basil.
Yeah. Have you guys ever tried a Spanish omelet? Sorry, that's the one that's like an omelet with potato and bacon.
To me, that's just an omelet with extra stuff in it. So I've certainly had that. Yeah, I like that. I don't know.
I
don't know what the term is, but I definitely like potatoes mixed in if you can. Yeah, we just mix a lot of stuff in. But I was going to ask real quick because Silver might have mentioned my favorite kind, which is fried. If you fry an egg and the outside is a little brown and crispy, and then you put cheese in there and that gets a little like crispy.
You can like dip stuff on the
put it on some toast.
The yolk you can, but I'm talking about like on toast. I just like crisp, and so when you get an egg, like if you make bacon, and then once the bacon's done, throw an egg in for like 45 seconds, and it just fries.
Yeah,
and it's like the egg is doing the skating thing, and you're like, oh yeah, also, it's never touched the skillet.
Like one of the best ways for me to like eat kind of scrambled eggs is to fry them with some ham or something, and then put it on like a toast sandwich with also fried in the same pan. Yeah.
So the bread has like it's fried up with the flavor. Yeah. Dude, that's so good, man. Now I'm so hungry. The thing about frying eggs too is it's so easy, but I just don't do it. I think it's a little messy, even if you're a really good cook. There's a little grease.
It jumps a bit.
Yeah, and I don't like the smell of grease, strangely, like cooling grease. If you guys, like if you go into like a restaurant and they're opening in the morning, there's something about that's like, until they cook. But I definitely like fried eggs. Yeah, fried eggs are awesome.
One thing that I figured out for bacon, because I love bacon, I imagine, I don't know why I'm assuming
you're not an American. Yeah, I'm just joking.
But one thing, like doing it in the oven. So instead of frying it in the pan, because dude, it gets crispy all around. Yep. You don't have areas where it's like, it didn't stick properly or whatever. And it's just like perfect.
Yeah, and Denovan showed me or told me about the oven thing. I'd never done it all my life. It was like 2 years ago in Discord. He mentioned,
and it's so simple too.
Yeah,
because you put it in there.
This works really. I always think of grease as being the thing that fries something, so I just never assumed taking bacon out and just put it. And a lot of people bake stuff and it doesn't taste. Let's be honest, it's usually the more healthy choice because the fat's not there.
Sure.
Yet bacon just has so much fat, I think, that it could lose 90% of its weight.
Great.
Yeah. Dude, my grandma and grandpa, I don't know if this was a thing, but so gross, man. They would make us amazing breakfasts, and my grandpa loved bacon when it was like 50% cooked, so the white of the fat would still be chewy. And he'd be talking to you, and he'd be like, you know, he's all dirty because he had a forge, and that's what he did was made tools. And he'd be like, yeah, so anyway, Jeremy, do you have... And it was like eating a raw pig. I was like, dude, seriously, cook that shit up, man. I don't know if he was just a for effect person and he just wanted the calories or what. I never asked him, but...
You know what, man? Here they have this thick-ass bacon. They like it real thick, so it doesn't get crunchy.
Crunchy.
It's like chewy. And I've never... No, man, I don't want like a bacon fillet. No, give me a...
Oh, my God, that's disgusting. A bacon fillet is... That reminds me of fish as well.
You can still make the thick ones crunchy, though, if you cook.
You can.
It really depends, man. Over here, like the ones that I get, it's very hard because it will just dry out completely before it becomes crusty.
Abzi, when you eat fish, do you like the smell of fish? So, like, when you have salmon and you open up salmon and that wafting...
I don't...
No one likes the smell of fish.
Before, when it's cooked... Oh, man, when my mom, like cooks like a full... Yeah, I do. I
like
get
a
excited,
full fish.
Man. But I don't like it if I'm not going to eat it.
No, not pre-dish. You don't like the smell pre-dish.
Yeah, no, that's true, Abzi. Fish is... Some people like fish, but they still don't like if somebody else is eating it, kind of thing.
No, I mean, like, fish smell is bad, but like if it's cooked and I'm eating it, I don't know, man.
Yeah, if it's a part of a dish, then it smells good, right? Because it's
well, not like when it's like before you cook it and shit.
Wet.
Yeah.
I
mean, I wouldn't take a whiff, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, if you're Swedish, you're very much into fish.
You're eating it raw. Yeah, like a bear.
I like general,
not just raw, but like fermented.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know, man. I think I do though. I think I like especially if I like the beach smell, the fish smell, like all the fisheries.
You mean like so? I like a beach smell, which is salt water and the beach and the sand.
Water,
I love
I feel
that.
you. Yeah.
But like in Spain, like there's near the beach, there's like fisheries,
the fisheries,
like a lot of fish places, and I like that. I like it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I do want to thank Abzi for doing the last podcast he'll ever be on. Everybody else,
what?
Yeah,
what,
you're
what
gone. You're gone, man.
Bro,
I can't like anybody who likes fish. What?
I'll see you on Wednesday, and I'll show you. I'll bring fish with me.
No, you won't bring fish, or there will be no podcast. Anyway, that'll be it for us.
Smell-o-vision.
Oh, dude. By the way, whenever VR mentions smell-o-vision, it always just the idea.
I'll send you a can of Surströmming.
No, you can send it, but it'll come back to you unopened.
Canned sardines.
I'll smell that shit at the U.S. Postal Service. I'll be like, somebody's sending me fish. Anyway, that'll be it for us. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We appreciate it. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for subscribing. Watch Johnny tomorrow.